entire audience, and a wave of warm applause erupted. After Chang Wei completed his ideological guidance, the meeting began to enter its main theme. First, it was determined that Chang Wei's thoughts would serve as the revolutionary leadership program, and all comrades of the Militia Alliance should steadfastly obey his command. Secondly, the focus would be on developing technology and heavy industry. All resources within the controlled star regions would be integrated and efficiently allocated, ensuring technological superiority and perseverance. Thirdly, special forces and agent teams would be deployed to conduct reconnaissance and sabotage activities on military facilities and arms enterprises within the empire, targeting those heinous tycoons, corporate executives, and war criminals for assassination and decapitation. At the same time, a spy war would be launched against the empire's intelligence agencies. Fourth, there would be continuous incitement of the populace within the empire to resist, tempt, and persuade enemy troops to defect, constantly shaking the internal foundations of the empire. Fifth, designate the future alliance's offensive routes and related tactics. Sixth, seventh, eighth, and 10th. Just as the conference was in full swing, an astonishing piece of news, like a bolt from the blue, reached the personal communication devices of all representatives of the alliance. Even Chang Wei, who was sitting at the podium and was originally focused on the materials, was instantly filled with shock upon receiving this news. What? They actually dared. Someone had already projected a segment of footage onto the large screen above the conference hall, showcasing 10 shocking scenes. In the footage, a massive artificial spherical celestial body emitted a huge beam of light, instantly destroying a lush green planet before their eyes. Then came the second, third, fourth, and 10th. As they watched one planet after another explode, shattering into cosmic dust along with the magma from their cores, everyone in the hall held their breath, widened their eyes, and involuntarily stood up from their seats. Was this the Empire's provocation? A provocation directed at this significant conference of the Alliance? Or was it a warning? In a matter of moments, 10 planets bordering the Empire had been destroyed, resulting in the deaths of trillions. What on earth was this? When did the Empire acquire such terrifying weapons? The atmosphere at the conference felt like a massive shadow pressing down on everyone, causing fear to grow within them. Chang Wei looked at the footage and quickly guessed what that artificial celestial body was. It was undoubtedly the Death Star. I underestimated them. They actually completed it. Chang Wei gritted his teeth, feeling restless. At that moment, he had only one thought: to annihilate the enemy. Mother Nest, heed my command. Immediately enter combat mode and begin the jump to the Hope Star. Chapter 177. Death Star. The Death Star is a type of gigantic superweapon in the world of star warfare. It was secretly constructed by the Galactic Empire and operates as a combat space station the size of a satellite. In the early stages of its planning, it was simply referred to as the ultimate weapon. The birth of the Death Star was influenced by the Empire's doctrine of Tarkanism. The core element of Tarkanism is to rule through fear. This ideology holds that the fundamental reason people dare to rebel and disobey is that the fear imposed on them is not sufficient. Only when the fear within people is great enough can the Empire maintain long-lasting peace and stability. The positioning of the Death Star is akin to nuclear weapons during World War II. It possesses tremendous destructive power and can also be used as a deterrent, instilling great fear and helplessness in both the Empire's citizens and its enemies, thus leading them to abandon resistance. This same rationale applied to the subsequent construction of Death Star 2 and the Star Destroyer base by the Galactic Empire and the First Order. Just like the concept of giant battleship guns from a certain country's World War II era, they have developed a blind confidence in such things. The cost of the space station exceeds 200 billion Imperial credits, with a diameter of 160 kilometers. Most of its internal space being utilized for the systems necessary to maintain its large super laser cannons and energy power. At the center of the station is an enormous supermaterial reaction chamber, providing energy to support the normal operation of various systems simultaneously. Firstly, in terms of engines, it employs an ion engine network to propel the station, along with 123 hyperspace drive field generators connected into a single navigation matrix, allowing the station to traverse the entire galaxy in hyperspace. In this narrative, hyperspace engines are designated as technology that only a level 5 civilization with mastery over dimensional technology can possess. The established lore here may conflict with other narratives, so readers may choose to overlook it. One could also think of it as a pseudo-hyperspace engine, essentially still belonging to the realm of jumps. The author believes that true hyperspace travel should be instantaneous across the universe, similar to the Xel'Naga, while the portrayal in the narrative requires a certain travel time, thus deemed as superliminal jumps. Moreover, in the film, there are scenes where forces initiate engines to crash into enemy ships, indicating that entities exist in that travel state, not having entered hyperspace. The station utilizes astonishing energy in its massive mass to produce magnetic fields and artificial gravity fields that can influence celestial bodies several times larger than itself. In terms of weaponry, the surface of the station is dotted with various armed turrets, totaling 15,000 turbo laser cannons and 768 tractor beam emitters, along with a large super laser cannon constructed from a certain crystal. Its firepower configuration is equivalent to half of an Imperial naval fleet. Under the amplification of the crystal, the destructive power of 8 individually branched laser beams can combine to form an energy beam comparable in intensity to that of a star. It can sweep through vast fleets or obliterate entire planets. To the people of this era, it is indeed terrifying, coupled with its incredibly strong shields. It is understandable that it is referred to as a superweapon. Additionally, the station is equipped with a total of 342,953 personnel from the Imperial Navy and Army, 25,984 Imperial stormtroopers, along with approximately 2 million other troops, and countless armored and aerial units. It can certainly be considered a large-scale war platform. In the official history of the narrative, the station is indeed a symbol of invincibility, pushing through almost unopposed until it was ultimately destroyed by exploiting a deliberately designed weakness by a certain character, with another piloting a fighter to detonate its central supermaterial reaction chamber. At this moment, it had just finished destroying the 10th planet in a certain alliance's territory when it was caught off guard by the swiftly assembled fleet of that alliance. As the saying goes, enemies meet with extra hostility, especially when the other side has ruthlessly destroyed 10 of their planets, leading to a declaration of extermination. This was simply unforgivable. Thus, a fierce battle between the two sides erupted instantly. It is important to note that the number of the luminary fleet within the entire Rebel Alliance is quite small. Currently, this hastily assembled fleet of the Rebel Alliance does not include any luminaries. Therefore, they are naturally unaware of the specific intelligence regarding the Death Star. However, this does not hinder their bravery and determination to defend the revolution. Based on past combat experience against Imperial forces, the commander of this rebel fleet has adopted a relatively conservative tactic, maintaining a neat formation and engaging the Death Star with long-range bombardment. This is because the Empire possesses a weapon known as a tractor beam. This weapon can instantly lock onto enemy ships, rendering them immobile within its power range. It can also capture enemy vessels through adjustments, much like being ensnared by a grappling hook. Either one is captured or becomes a sitting target. The only drawback of this weapon is its large size, typically only mounted on massive capital ships. The Rebel Alliance has suffered significantly from this in the past, so they avoid close-quarters combat with Imperial forces unless absolutely necessary. The Death Star, being a massive entity, undoubtedly wields a formidable tractor beam, and once caught, it would likely mean certain doom. The first wave of fire struck the Death Star's shields, creating ripples that quickly subsided. It stood there like a colossal steel beast, watching with a mocking gaze as these ants made futile last-ditch efforts. What kind of monster is this? The commander of the rebel fleet stood up, his face filled with disbelief. However, it was now the Death Star's turn to strike. Suddenly, 8 green beams of light coalesced in the void, converging at a single point, forming a massive lightsaber that swept across the rebel fleet. The speed was astonishing, leaving no time for any reaction. The dim light outside the porthole suddenly blazed like the sun. With a crash, vision blurred and perception was lost, as if everything around had turned into a white void. In that moment, everything was vaporized, completely obliterated under the starlit sky. Although the ships on the outer formation survived that devastating strike, the sheer terror of such power left them utterly demoralized. This was beyond anything they could withstand. Hurry, activate the jump engines. Let us get out of here. But as soon as the words were spoken, these surviving ships began to tilt violently, as if affected by some sudden, immense gravitational pull. Many crew members were caught off guard and fell to the ground. When they managed to get back up, they stared in horror, eyes wide in disbelief, at what lay beyond the porthole. A massive silver sphere was emerging from the light of the jump, like a titan crossing the cosmos, arriving to join the battle. Chapter 178, Star of Hope versus Death Star. Name: Star of Hope. Total mass: 16 trillion tons diameter. 10,742 kilometers. Planet Gaia. Yellow Nest collective consciousness. Abbreviated as Mother Nest defensive armament. 300,000 electromagnetic rail closed defense cannons. 150,000 medium-range laser defense arrays. 500 long-range neutron fusion missile silos. 10,000 ground bunkers. 100,000 anti-air missile towers. 1,000 sensing towers. 36 doomsday turrets. Numerous hotbeddies, bombillas, and spinning guys. Planetary GN shield force field. Simulated docking starport. Class 1 standard starport, capable of simultaneously docking 30,000 battleships and 200 maintenance workshops. 72 reassembly and unloading workshops, capable of rapid disassembly, upgrades, replacement of parts, and manufacturing. With sufficient resources and continuous operation, an average of one Minotaur-class battlecruiser can be produced every 10 days. In other words, in 6 months, an additional 18 Minotaur-class battlecruisers can be produced, which is minimal and only suitable for emergency wartime production, rather than as a dedicated shipyard. Mobile engines. 1,000 large neutron fusion propulsion engines, 400 large sublight speed drive engines, 200 light speed engines, and 100 super light speed jump engines. Due to the large number of engines and energy constraints, the scientific team is working hard to resolve the energy issues burdening the Star of Hope. The qualitative lightspeed engine is currently under verification and project establishment. Super weapons. 1 time-space folding weapon and 1 giant Draken laser focusing cannon. Current crew. 300 million mutated metallic life forms. 2,000 natural human operators and officers. 60,000 clone guards, including Imperial stormtroopers, human marine troops, and replicators from the astral military. Additional structures. 1. Red water storage sea, totaling 3.9 billion cubic meters, located in the core area of the Star of Hope's crust. 2. Large material storage warehouses, containing living supplies, medical supplies, military supplies, etc., totaling 18 million cubic meters, located in the armored interlayer region of the crust. 3. A festival activity town, covering an area of 280 square kilometers, located near the equator on the surface, protected by the Sky Dome defense. 4. Fortress living area, including dormitory area, dining area, entertainment area, waste processing area, and food and water resource recycling area, totaling 500 square kilometers, located in the upper crust. Glancing at the data panel of the Star of Hope, Chong Wei nodded in satisfaction. He then opened the tactical view while mentally commanding, Mother Nest, begin combat intervention. Deliver a devastating strike on the Death Star. It must be completely obliterated. Immediately, a gentle response came from the Mother Nest. Understood, Commander. The Mother Nest will comply with your supreme command and eliminate all enemies. Soon, the massive celestial body emerged from the light of the jump, and the shocking sight once again left all representatives in the venue breathless, including Bel Organa and Governor Mont Mazma, who had been kept in the dark. It's over. The Empire actually has an even larger one. Do we still have any hope? A trembling cry suddenly broke the silence, causing great concern and fear among many representatives who were intently watching the screen. Chong Wei observed everything closely and thought to himself, indeed, within the alliance of the righteous, there are still some individuals with wavering convictions. I wonder how many opportunists are among them. Never mind. Internal issues can be addressed later. It's time to instill a strong sense of confidence in everyone. Clearing his throat to draw attention, he stood up from his seat, his expression grave, and extended his hand toward the screen as he began to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce one of the hidden trump cards of the Luminary Fleet, the planetary mobile fortress, Hope Star. As his words fell, the giant silver celestial body on the screen responded with a massive red beam of light shooting directly toward the enemy stronghold. Boom. The red beam collided with the stronghold's shield, creating violent ripples at the point of contact, but it did not penetrate the shield. However, the beam continued its relentless output, as if vowing not to rest until it melted through the shield. Is this a giant lightsaber? One representative, who prided himself on being well-informed, ventured a guess. Chong Wei turned to him and replied with a smile, No, it is not a lightsaber. It is a superweapon mounted on the Hope Star, called the Giant Draken Laser Focusing Cannon. This cannon can output energy at a maximum power of 7,500 megawatts. Unlike conventional beam weapons, its output is stable and continuous. Given enough time, it can penetrate any heavy shield or armor. As Chong Wei spoke, the ripples on the stronghold's shield grew more intense, the contact surface resembling a boiling pot of oil, gradually turning red and hot. Finally, with a sizzling sound, it breached the shield and penetrated the stronghold. The screen showed that the stronghold had made an emergency maneuver just before the shield shattered, which allowed the red beam to narrowly miss striking its core reactor, instead brushing against the armored layer near the equator. The destruction caused by the giant Draken laser focusing cannon was terrifying. That mere graze had shaved a part off the stronghold, creating a wide chasm on its surface, where everything inside had melted into charcoal and molten iron, emitting waves of red heat that spread ominously. This scene left both sides utterly astonished. The reversal had come too swiftly. Their stronghold had just been constructed, boasting an unbeatable strategy, achieving 2 pentakills and dominating the battlefield. How could a muscular giant suddenly emerge from the wilds and slap them in the face without warning? This was not right. At this moment, Emperor Palpatine of the Empire was also watching the battlefield, but his previously cruel and mocking smile had vanished. As he gazed at the colossal war star, which dwarfed the stronghold by countless times. His throat could only emit a series of rolling, swallowing sounds. In his mindset, bigger is better, and bigger means stronger. The Death Star is already the largest military unit that the Empire can construct. Yet, suddenly, a celestial body even larger than the Death Star appears before him, leaving him in shock. His expression gradually becomes grim, contorted as if he has swallowed a fly. Who would have thought that while preparing to happily fish in his pond, he would face the strongest opponent on the other side? There's a saying about not knowing whether to speak or remain silent. Counterattack. Counterattack. Is the super laser cannon cooled down yet? If it is, fire back immediately. The commander of the Death Star is already terrified, feeling as if his heart is about to burst. Fear has thrown him into chaos, making him reckless. In the history of star battles, the cooling time for the super laser cannon is 24 hours. However, due to the interference from the luminaries, the Death Star was not only completed ahead of schedule, but many of its flaws and weaknesses were also fixed and improved. As a result, the current cooling time for the super laser cannon is only 15 minutes. If the situation is urgent, it can even fire at the cost of its lifespan. Soon, under the roar of the Death Star's commander, the super laser cannon focused its energy once again and fired at the Star of Hope. Fire! Fire! Red and green beams collided, instantly igniting brilliant starlight in the universe. It was as if two deities were wrestling in a life and death struggle. For a moment, it seemed evenly matched. But soon, the giant Draken laser focus cannon, which could output stable and continuous fire, began to gain the upper hand, while the super laser cannon struggled to keep up, gradually being pushed back. At such a great distance, both sides could only reach each other with their main planetary cannons. Other weapons were completely ineffective. Now, the Death Star, overwhelmed and seeing its own doom, made a mad decision. Activate the jump engine and crash into them. Smash it. This is bad, sir. The super laser cannon is overheating, and the overload has reached critical levels. The reaction chamber is about to give out. What? The rushed construction of the Death Star, coupled with the loss of a reasonable layout, meant it was not as sturdy and stable as expected and couldn't withstand intense pressure in battle. Therefore, before it could even start the engine, the interior of the Death Star exploded due to the pressure. Then, the super laser cannon suddenly ceased operation, while the giant Draken laser focus cannon penetrated the Death Star without obstruction. Boom. It was like a high-speed bullet piercing through an apple. First, the entire structure collapsed due to gravitational contraction. Then, there was an explosive expansion of light and heat. Just as it had annihilated stars before, it now faced the same fate. Without mercy, without compassion, under the law of cause and effect, the brilliant explosion quickly turned into dust among the stars. Star of Hope versus Death Star. The Star of Hope wins decisively. Seeing the highly anticipated battle station destroyed, Palpatine nearly fell from his throne, while Chong Wei's lips curled into a smirk, revealing his triumph. Oomph. Hiding the Hope Star for so long was a clever way to catch them off guard. If I had revealed it earlier, the battle station might have been too frightened to engage with me. After all, the only advantage the battle station has over the Hope Star is its mobility. Looking around the venue at the faces glowing with confidence, Chong Wei made a decision. It would be rude not to return the favor, although a full counterattack was not yet ready. To prevent the emergence of a second battle station, it was time to mobilize forces under the banner of the Hope Star. Moreover, the grievances against those 10 planets must be avenged. Chapter 179. Pre-battle speech. Although the showdown between the two battle stars had concluded, the aftermath was just beginning. A new storm was brewing. It's important to note that information exchange between interstellar civilizations is remarkably swift. Before long, news spread about the Empire deploying an unprecedentedly powerful weapon that destroyed 10 planets under the control of the Rebel Alliance. One can only imagine the shock and fear this news instilled in the populace. In a panic, everyone began to flee towards the spaceport, eager to board a ship and escape into space, as the planets were far too large and could easily become the next targets for destruction. However, another piece of news soon followed. The Lightbringers within the Rebel Alliance quickly deployed a secret weapon and engaged in a desperate battle against the Empire's secret weapon in the Clark system. The entire combat process was thrilling and intense, filled with sacrifices and farewells, alongside a poignant love story. Ultimately, they overcame numerous challenges and successfully destroyed the Empire's secret weapon. Chong Wei was reading the press release from the propaganda ship when his eyes twitched slightly. During the break in the meeting, he inquired with the captain of the propaganda ship about how the media crew crafted their reports. The response was, "That's how people like it." Well, that makes some sense. Professional matters should be left to professionals, and Chong Wei decided not to intervene. After all, managing public opinion and irritating the Empire with propaganda tactics was something they were quite adept at. He couldn't help but wonder how many Imperial elites had their blood pressure skyrocketing during this time. It would be even better if Palpatine could be driven to a stroke. He recalled that not long ago, These guys had used head swapping and AI synthesis, and the visuals were quite shocking. Can you imagine Palpatine in bed with several men, looking utterly pleased and enjoying himself? This outrageous operation left Chong Wei speechless, causing him to quickly wash his eyes to clear the images from his mind. If only Jim Raynor had such talents back in the day, the Emperor monks would have likely been infuriated to death by now. Well, all's fair in war. They have their own battlefield as media workers, soldiers have theirs, and I have my own battlefield too. The doors open, and the meeting continues. This time, a significant speech will be delivered to the entire galaxy. At the same time, it is a declaration of a comprehensive counterattack against the Imperial forces. Countless media personnel also entered the venue. Their mission is to diligently record this historic moment and spread the voice of our leader throughout the galaxy. Comrades of the Revolution. Today, I stand here as the leader of the Alliance and the Supreme Commander of the fleet, solemnly addressing you. Not long ago, we suffered severe provocations and brutal attacks from the Imperial forces. But I want to tell you that this attack will not be silently endured. We will retaliate. Stronger than anyone else. The destruction of 10 planets is a humiliation we will never forget. Countless innocent lives were lost in that attack, and their sacrifices will forever be remembered in our hearts, inspiring us to continue fighting for justice and dancing for the light. We must take revenge. This is not only for them, but also for all those innocent lives. Comrades, the Imperial forces have sent their strongest power to strike us, trying to make us submit and instill fear in us. They think they can suppress our will and destroy our hope. But they are wrong. They underestimate our faith and strength. Their actions will only ignite the fire of anger in our hearts, awakening the courage and determination deep within us. We are the Alliance. Our will is unbreakable, and our strength is limitless. We will resist relentlessly, and we will carry the counterattack to the end. Clap, 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 clap. The entire venue erupted in thunderous applause, overwhelming in its intensity. The speaker paused to gather himself, gesturing for calm before continuing. In the past years, we have endured countless hardships and sacrifices. Our compatriots have suffered endless pain and torment under the brutal rule of the Empire. They destroyed our homes, and innocent lives were taken away. However, I assure you, all of this will be settled and punished. I know we are not yet ready. We need more time to organize, train, and strengthen our forces. But the enemy will not wait for us to be ready. Their attack this time is a provocation, a mockery of our revolutionary cause. We cannot sit idly by any longer. We cannot let them trample on our dignity. Now is the time for us to show them our strength. Now is the time for us to declare our determination. Now is the time for us to prove our unity and courage. We will transform our sorrow into strength, our anger into fighting spirit. Let us unite closely and fight for freedom. Fight for the future. Let them see our power. Let us prove with victory that the revolutionary cause has never stopped. And we will fight until the last moment. We, the light bearers, will raise the banner of belief and lead the charge. May the flame of freedom illuminate our path forward, and may the power of justice dispel the darkness around us. Let us fight. Together, let us forge the brilliance of victory and seize the dawn of hope. Long live the Alliance of the Just. A day later, the Alliance of the Just, under the leadership of the Light Bearer Fleet, launched a full-scale assault on the Imperial defense line. Dawn is about to break, and the darkness will eventually welcome the light. Chapter 180, Phase 3, Full Counterattack. Before the war began, Chong Wei gathered all the members of the Jedi Order together. General, with the great battle approaching, did you summon us for something important? Chong Wei led everyone to the armory of the Huberian, smiling as he walked. The importance of the Jedi on the battlefield is beyond doubt. However, war is ruthless and dangerous. A moment of carelessness could lead to annihilation. To increase your survival rate and combat effectiveness on the battlefield, I have decided to present you with a gift. Without waiting for the puzzled gazes of the Jedi, he immediately instructed Swan and the SCVs present to uncover the dust covers. What is this? As the dust covers were lifted, revealing what was inside, nearly all the Jedi were wide-eyed and shocked. Chong Wei pointed to the items and loudly declared, "These are mobile suits equipped with GN solar furnaces, a type of humanoid combat mech. They possess powerful energy supplied by semi-permanent power sources, shields, and long-range firepower. And they are specially equipped with large lightsabers made from kyber crystals. Tests have shown that they can effectively deflect some fighter and vehicle turbo laser cannons. Therefore, fighting in these suits will be far more compatible than piloting fighter jets. You need not worry about the operation either, as each suit comes with a support robot, Harrow, to assist you with various complex maneuvers. You simply need to pilot it like an enlarged Jedi, wielding a large lightsaber to engage the enemy. How about it? Are you satisfied with this gift?" The Jedi nodded with smiles, offering their sincere respect to Chong Wei. "General, thank you for your gift. May the Force be with you." Upon hearing this, Chong Wei felt a line of sweat forming on his forehead and fell into a long silence. Now, the army of the Alliance of the Just, under the leadership of the Light-Bearer fleet, began a full-scale assault on the Imperial defense line. Though they were not fully prepared, neither was the Empire. According to intelligence gathered from high-dimensional reconnaissance and the Phantom agents, the construction of the Death Star II was indeed underway, with progress reaching 60. Once completed, it would be larger, stronger, and more advanced than the first Death Star. Thus, Chang Wei would never allow its completion. Today, the major fleets of the Alliance of the Just, with the assistance of the Jedi Masters, were spreading out. The main force, led by the Light-Bearer fleet, advanced towards the imperial capital of Coruscant, spearheaded by the Star of Hope. Unlike the brutal and ruthless nature of empires, the Alliance of Freedom Fighters operates under the banner of liberation, embodying a just cause. Therefore, upon arriving at each planet, they not only compete with the Imperial fleet stationed in the Star region for air supremacy, but also deploy ground troops to engage in fierce battles against the Imperial forces entrenched in planetary defenses. Among these, planets with military fortifications, resource extraction facilities, industrial production, large docks, and transportation hubs have become key targets for the Alliance. Despite many star regions being fortified into impenetrable strongholds with a significant military presence, they still find themselves powerless against the overwhelming strength of the Beacon of Hope. This formidable force often leads the charge with its massive firepower, size, and shields, acting as both a meat shield and a source of damage while providing cover for allied forces to strike effectively from behind. The Imperial garrison is utterly helpless, as their proud defenses seem to crumble like tin, unable to inflict any harm on the Beacon of Hope. The final outcome is a relentless crushing under the carpet bombing advance of the fleet and the Beacon of Hope. They either face annihilation or retreat to other defensive zones. In fact, the speed of their advance could be even faster, but that would contradict the strategic objectives set forth by their commander. He aims for total annihilation rather than merely bypassing them to strike at the Emperor directly. The historical records of the Star Wars have made the outcome clear. If they let them go now, they could later become a lingering force seeking to restore their regime. When the mission of the fleet concludes and they leave this world, it is highly likely that they would succeed in their restoration, just as history has shown. The commander does not wish for tragedy to repeat itself, leaving troubles for future generations, nor does he want the efforts and sacrifices of countless individuals to ultimately be in vain. Thus, this slaughter is necessary, even if it means bearing the weight of infamy in history later. This is about accountability in the present and glory in the ages to come. Of course, he is not devoid of humanity. As long as the enemy is willing to surrender, he will accept them entirely. However, such cases are rare. Long-term brainwashing, internal cultural assimilation, and a large number of obedient clones have made them reluctant to surrender even in the face of overwhelming adversity. Let us not forget the terrifying institutions like the Imperial Enforcement Teams and the Imperial Court. Their existence significantly suppresses the likelihood of surrender or defection among the Imperial forces, unless they can eliminate all of them in advance. Thus, the Jedi led a group of Astartes to launch a surprise attack on the Imperial command ships and planetary bases, aiming to force the enemy to surrender and reduce unnecessary sacrifices and casualties. In an instant, their spectacular battles with Imperial judges, purging troops, and elite stormtroopers unfolded across various battlefields. Kamino, located to the south of the Philosopher's Maze, is a planet filled with tumultuous oceans and endless storms. Aside from the dome-shaped structures towering above the surface like goblets, there is hardly anyone who dares to venture or visit this place. However, this seemingly inconspicuous little place turned out to be a secret production base for the continuous manufacture of clone soldiers for a vast empire. After sacrificing numerous intelligence operatives, the information here was finally known to the Rebel Alliance. Thus, Master Yoda led his newly acquired apprentice, Zhong Kai, along with a large group of 50 brothers. Under the escort of the Revenge ship, they launched a raid here. This location was itself a production base for clone soldiers, and the resistance was quite fierce. However, there were no signs of Dark Jedi or Imperial enforcers, so the powerful Yoda and the exceptionally talented Zhong Kai fought fiercely with their lightsabers and the Force, wreaking havoc. Before long, with the cooperation of the 50 brothers and interstellar mercenaries, they destroyed the base. Masafel is a small, fiery planet where volcanic lava is mined as a precious resource. Despite its extremely harsh natural conditions, it is one of the important resource extraction planets for the Empire, making it a key target for both Imperial defense and Rebel attacks. Ultimately, after a tough battle, Masafel was captured by Ezra Bridger and Kanan Jarrus, a Jedi duo. Hopros is an ice planet surrounded by many satellites. The average daytime temperature on Hopros is -32 degrees, while at night it drops to -60 degrees. Despite the harsh environment, its suitable temperatures effectively cool the vast amounts of heat generated by industrial production. As a result, A large number of military factories and assembly workshops have been established here, continuously producing massive amounts of weapons, armor, battle robots, and various ground vehicles for the Empire. Naturally, this has attracted fierce attacks from the Rebel Alliance. Ultimately, under the leadership of Cal Kestis and Sarah Juanda, the rebels successfully took control. Kashyyyk is the home of the Wookiees. It serves as a crucial navigation gateway in the southwestern quadrant of the galaxy and is an extremely important strategic location. The ecosystem of Kashyyyk is unique, characterized by layered biodiversity. The forests of this planet are divided into several ecological layers from top to bottom, with increasing danger as one goes deeper. The intelligent Wookiee species occupies the upper canopy layer, while some lower layers have not seen sunlight for thousands of years, filled with deadly primitive creatures and giant carnivorous insects. It is a richly diverse, yet dangerous green world. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jedi Li Zhang led a large army in fierce combat against the Imperial forces above the planet Kashyyyk. However, soon after, the Imperial forces received reinforcements. As the light of the hyperspace transitions flickered, a fleet known as the Death Squadron arrived on the battlefield. Leading this fleet was the infamous Executor-class Star Dreadnought from the galaxy's lore, which was also the final flagship of a prominent figure. Chapter 181, Dimensional Strike. At this moment, the main offensive fleet of the Rebel Alliance, led by Chong Wei, comprised 80,000 ships, along with a mobile planetary fortress known as the Star of Hope. Opposing him is the main fleet of the Empire led by Marshal Soren, consisting of a total of 360,000 ships, and the numbers are still gathering. After several probing attacks, Marshal Soren, while fighting and retreating, realized that if the Hope Star was not eliminated, it would be very difficult for the Imperial forces to achieve victory. Therefore, he devised a very cunning plan to lure the main forces of the rebels, along with the Hope Star, into the Tartarus system, where traps had been set in advance. Then, by detonating a star, he aimed to eliminate them all at once. The star within the Tartarus system is a blue giant and does not have any life-bearing planets, due to its immense stellar energy. A Dyson sphere was constructed here by a certain powerful shipyard group to harness its cheap energy for energy cores, spaceship engines, and warship manufacturing. It is the largest space shipyard in the entire Empire. If this place were captured, the Empire would suffer significant losses. And if the rebels managed to operate this space shipyard, their war potential would significantly increase. Facing such a strategic location, Marshal Soren did not believe the enemy would pass up this opportunity. At that time, as long as he sent heavy troops to feign a desperate defense, the rebels would definitely advance in full force. Then, he would activate the trap to seal the area, and, while both sides were locked in a fierce battle, he would sacrifice his own forces and the space shipyard to successfully detonate the blue giant and eliminate all the enemies, achieving his operational objectives. Although the plan was well thought out, it adhered to conventional logic. If it were the usual tactics of the Rebel Alliance, they would indeed seek to capture the Empire's largest space shipyard. However, Marshal Soren did not understand Chong Wei, nor was he aware that Chong Wei was well-versed in the plot and future developments. Therefore, his vision was not limited to this, but rather looked towards a much more distant future. Thus, faced with such an enticing target, Chong Wei did not take the bait, but instead ordered the entire army to halt their advance. This cautious move not only puzzled his advancing troops, but also caused Marshal Soren to frown. His mind was racing like a CPU about to overheat, calculating and pondering furiously. Has the opponent seen through my strategy? In reality, he had not. Chong Wei merely felt that the enemy's defensive strength was quite formidable. A full 300,000 warships were allocated for defense within the star system, while another 60,000 warships were maneuvering at the edge of the system. If our forces launched a rash attack, even with the Hope Star as a large shield, it was likely that the remaining troops would suffer significant casualties. From this point, one can see the differences in the understanding and thought processes of war between Chong Wei and Soren. Soren would go to any lengths for victory. As long as he could achieve the ultimate strategic goal, casualties were merely a string of cold numbers. He was willing to use soldiers' lives as bait. In contrast, Chong Wei placed great importance on the casualties and losses of his soldiers. The purpose of war is to win, and the reason for winning is for the people. By prioritizing the human element, one can analyze the gains and losses of war from a broader perspective. Isn't the strategic thought of great leaders just like this? Accumulate small victories to achieve a grand victory. Not caring about immediate gains or losses, as long as people are still alive, there will always be opportunities for the future. If people are lost, then even if the war is won, it still feels like losing half. Unless absolutely necessary or there is a greater strategic goal, one generally would not choose to confront the opponent head-on. Every soldier's life is worth 100 times more than the enemy's. As a commander, one must achieve the highest returns at the lowest cost. Otherwise, one is just a burden. Moreover, the opposing commander is Marshal Zolong, and the 300,000 troops may merely be a ruse to attract attention. The real threat could very well be the 60,000 warships maneuvering at the edge of the star system. The highest commanders of both fleets are locked in a mental duel, calculating against each other, unaware that they are not even on the same wavelength. Just as Marshal Zolong is unable to hold back and wants to take the initiative to lure the opponent, a significant decision is made by the other side. You like to gather heavy troops and cluster together? Fine, I will accommodate you. It's time to use another trump card and strike at the Empire effectively. With that thought, sitting on the bridge, a command is given to the ghost captain of the Star-class strategic Cloud Sea ship. Follow my orders and deploy 10 two-dimensional whale swallowing membranes to the Tardos star system. The two-dimensional whale swallowing membrane is a weapon carried by the Star-class strategic Cloud Sea ship, with a total of only 64 units. Its effect is similar to the two-dimensional foil in the three-body problem, capable of spreading at the speed of light and reducing the surrounding three-dimensional space to 2 dimensions. During the process of reducing an object to 2 dimensions, a significant amount of information will be lost, leading to structural damage. This damage is irreversible. The only difference between the two-dimensional whale swallowing membrane and the two-dimensional foil is that once the two-dimensional foil is released, it will continue to expand indefinitely. While the two-dimensional whale swallowing membrane has a maximum lethal range of only 10 light-years. Once it expands to 10 light-years, it will automatically evaporate, and the affected space will re-expand back to 3 dimensions like a dehydrated sponge. Of course, the matter re-expanding to 3 dimensions will no longer resemble its original form, as the massive loss of information may turn it into a pile of mosaic. For instance, a person before falling into 2 dimensions may become a pile of flesh after returning to 3 dimensions. Similarly, a star before falling into 2 dimensions may become a dispersed nebula upon returning to 3 dimensions. The reason for deploying 10 two-dimensional whale swallowing membranes at once is to prevent the speed of light from being too slow, allowing the opponent to escape. After all, one can use mission points to replenish them in the system later, so there is less hesitation in using them. Watching the 10 small light points projected by the Star-class strategic Cloud Sea ship in the tactical view, one cannot help but reflect. Every universe has its limitations, and the Star Wars universe is evidently much more affluent compared to those despairing universes. Naturally, in weapon design and development, the idea of giant ships and giant cannons still prevails, without considering the analysis of universal truths or utilizing cosmic laws to create weapons. Now, let this world witness what true dimensionality reduction strikes look like. Bang 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 bang. Like 10 pebbles simultaneously dropping into calm water, intense spatial ripples are instantly generated. The seemingly static surface of the lake suddenly crystallized into piercing frost, continuously spreading outward. At that moment, death itself blew a gentle breeze, silently dragging one Imperial warship after another, along with celestial bodies, into a Van Gogh painting. Their struggles and resistance were utterly futile, akin to a drowning person helplessly watching themselves plunge deeper into a dark abyss. Before long, the Tardos star system transformed into a flat canvas, adorned with countless two-dimensional anatomical diagrams of Imperial warships and their crews. Various bones, muscles, and blood vessels appeared as if they had been flattened and stamped on, creating a terrifying sight. Chang Wei closed the tactical view and chose not to look further. In the face of such information disparity, his old tactics indeed felt gratifying, as he had taken out so many of the Empire's people in one go. Yet, the slaughter he had caused also left him feeling uneasy. But what could be done? This was war. Killing the enemy was certainly better than losing one's own people. Such a horrifying scene left Marshal Sauron, who was hovering at the edge of the star system, in shock. It also stunned the alien comrades within the Rebel Alliance fleet. What kind of weapon was this? What other secrets did the leaders of the Light Chaser and Chang Wei hold? Chang Wei provided no explanation. Instead, slowly raised his head and commanded the entire army. All units, change direction to avoid the two-dimensional collapse. Next, eliminate the remaining enemy forces. Perhaps, after this battle, the definition of super weapons in the Star Wars universe would be completely rewritten. My lord, the times have changed. Meanwhile, on another part of the battlefield, the situation was intensely fierce. With the arrival of the Death Fleet, the Rebel Alliance's forces were instantly at a disadvantage. There was no choice. Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Jedi Li, who was possessed by Owen, piloted their GN Solar Furnace Gundams and began to engage, drawing their large lightsabers to prepare for a solo ship-slicing performance. However, would Darth Vader allow them to succeed? Clearly not. Soon, a uniquely designed latest model TIE fighter burst forth from the Executor, heading straight for them. Chapter 182, Duel of Angels. The Gundams assigned to the Jedi Order by Chang Wei were all standard models, in addition to being equipped with smart Heros, 2 large Kyber crystal lightsabers, and a GN solar furnace. They also featured a GN shield generator and 2 GN beam rifles, along with 2 wing-shaped floating shields. As the first independently developed Gundam by the Light Chaser fleet, it was named by Chong Wei as the Source Code Gundam, meaning that future models would be modified based on this prototype. The Source Code Gundam was designated as a close combat type. Height, 18 meters. Weight, 65 tons. Armor material, made from the MS-1 regenerative steel of the Terran race. Special system, Trans-Am system, also known as Quantum Burst Mode. Color scheme, blue and white. It is important to note that long-term exposure to high concentrations of GN particles can lead to genetic evolution, awakening the individual as a transformational being. This phenomenon is particularly evident among psychics and races with highly developed brain domains. In other words, those Jedi pilots operating advanced mechs will find it much easier to awaken as revolutionaries compared to ordinary individuals. Once they awaken as revolutionaries, all 5 physical attributes will experience a significant boost, roughly increasing by 15 times from their original levels. Additionally, their lifespan will also see a remarkable extension. With such advantages, it's unlikely that any Jedi would want to return to piloting smaller crafts. Therefore, on battlefields across the universe, one can see those Jedi pilots in their advanced mechs, moving like agile spirits, skillfully wielding their lightsabers while dodging the beams fired by enemy crafts, effortlessly slicing through and downing countless foes, becoming a nightmare and a harbinger of death for the enemy pilots in an instant. Some even daringly execute solo infiltrations, landing outside the bridges of enemy ships, striking down with a single blow, determining life and death in an instant. Their awe-inspiring presence and unmatched entrance are akin to a mighty warrior pointing dramatically at the enemy's vast forces, shouting out, "You bring shame, and I shall strip you bare." Then, raising their large lightsabers with unyielding courage, they charge into the enemy fleet, striking repeatedly. Such scenes are about to be reenacted in the skies above the planet Kashyyyk. Meanwhile, the morale of the Rebel Alliance's fighter squadrons is soaring as they follow in the wake of 2 advanced mechs, rushing toward the Imperial fleet. Haha. These advanced mechs are truly impressive, deserving to be the exclusive machines for the Jedi. They are just as agile and fast as any fighter craft. And they even mimic human anatomy, allowing them to perform a variety of complex and extraordinary maneuvers on the battlefield, as if a Jedi is truly wielding a lightsaber in space. It's incredibly cool. I wish I could have one too. Billy, stop dreaming. I recently met a mechanic named Swan while drinking, and according to him, the cost of these mechs is quite high. Moreover, operating them without intelligent assistance would be very challenging. A normal person would likely need about 23 years to become proficient. The main point is, you won't be able to get one. Haha. Alright, you two, stop chatting. Although the Jedi Master has taken on much of the pressure for us, we are still in a battlefield. Do you see that? A TIE fighter is coming from the 3 o'clock position. Let's all take it down together. Unit 2 received. Unit 3 received. Soon, these 3 Rebel Alliance X-Wing starfighters, designed and manufactured by a tech company, quickly formed a combat formation and flew toward the TIE fighter, attempting to overwhelm it with numbers. These starfighters are equipped with 4 KX-14 laser cannons on their wings, arranged in a classic X-shaped layout, hence the name X-Wing Starfighter. As they opened fire on the TIE fighter, they initially thought victory was assured and that they could easily take it down. However, the enemy always seemed to evade their attacks, as if possessing foresight. The pilot of Unit 1 seemed to sense something and immediately shouted in the squad channel, "Spread out. That TIE fighter's pilot has the Force." But his warning came too late, as 2 of his teammates brushed past the TIE fighter, which suddenly extended 2 massive red lightsabers from its wings. With a precise roll, it sliced the 2 passing X-Wing starfighters in half. No. The pilot of Unit 1 pushed the control stick forward, increasing the power and unleashing a barrage of attacks on the TIE fighter. Even as they were about to collide head-on, he showed no fear. However, his bravery did not lead to a mutual destruction. In fact, the TIE fighter didn't even bother to return fire. Just as they were about to crash into each other, the TIE fighter executed a quick maneuver, rolling past the top of his ship with incredible agility. With a loud explosion, the TIE fighter emerged unscathed, while the X-Wing behind it was obliterated in a brilliant fireball. Obi-Wan, piloting a mecha, and Jedi Li also sensed something and immediately turned their attention to the TIE fighter, quickly realizing its identity. Darth Vader. As if fate were calling. Both sides charged at each other, and a fierce battle ensued. Although Vader was not piloting a mecha, his TIE fighter appeared to be a special model, extremely advanced and remarkably agile. Like a skilled Sith warrior, he spun and wielded the large lightsabers on his wings, engaging the 2 Jedi pilots in a fierce exchange. As the battle continued, Jedi Li became increasingly alarmed. What the heck? My force abilities and swordsmanship are already at the physical limit. I should be close to the peak of this universe. How is this lord so powerful? System. Are you kidding me? The system replied mechanically. First, the host's physical limits have reached the normal threshold of this world. Further breakthroughs will be rejected by the world, making it impossible to compete with the force of a destined individual. Second, the host is under conceptual level suppression and cannot exert normal combat power. Detection shows that Darth Vader's TIE fighter has undergone special modifications, with the cockpit altered into a micro-corridor. Hearing this answer nearly choked Jedi Li. But soon, an even more blood-boiling scene unfolded. The TIE fighter suddenly shot out 10 red lightsabers from its rear, like floating swords, heading straight for the two mechas attacking it. Jedi Li's eyes widened in shock as he exclaimed, "What the heck? You can play like this? Directly using the Force to control floating swords. I've tolerated this for too long. Before I wake you up to the light side, let me give you a good beating first." With that, Obi-Wan and Jedi Li activated the quantum burst mode of their mechas. Transam. As soon as the quantum burst mode was activated, the silhouettes of the two mechas transformed into dazzling crimson flashes. Following closely, their movements and attack trajectories began to transform into optical afterimages. Even the advanced radar and communication instruments on the TIE fighter malfunctioned at this moment due to the high concentration of GN particles spreading in the area. If it weren't for the strong force sensitivity of the dark figure, which allowed him to ignore these disturbances, he would have likely been shot down in an instant. The Transam system operates by releasing high-concentration compressed particles from the GN solar furnace at several times the original supply, allowing for 3 times the mobility in a short period. However, when the Transam system reaches its critical usage time, the solar furnace must regenerate GN particles, resulting in a significant drop in performance. This means that the two pilots must deal with the dark figure before the quantum burst mode shuts down. Boom. Crash. In the vastness of space. Amidst the chaotic battlefield of raging fire and beams shooting in all directions, 2 towering mechs and a TIE fighter were locked in an intense space battle. The TIE fighter soared through the stars, its wings glowing with large red lightsabers, accompanied by a swarm of floating blades manipulated by the Force. Darting through the cosmos like a falcon, they sliced through the starry sky with agility, leaving behind trails that resembled stunning flashes of lightning. Meanwhile, the towering mechs of the two pilots shimmered with red light, adorned like they were clad in magnificent armor, radiating a fierce glow. They closely flanked the TIE fighter, wielding their lightsabers with flexibility and mobility, striking at the dark figure in a coordinated attack. The 3 skilled pilots sensed the warnings and guidance of the Force, continuously adjusting their attacks and defensive stances in advance. Their intense focus and sharp gazes reflected a commitment to the battle, each movement showcasing exceptional piloting skills and mesmerizing combat artistry. Elegant and composed, their performance kept spectators on edge, thrilling and captivating. In the brief moments of close combat, both sides also resorted to long-range weapons in an attempt to disrupt each other's movements. Their energy weapons created a dazzling display of light, forming brilliant beams that, accompanied by the vibrations of energy and the hum of their machines, seemed to ignite the very fabric of space. In this fierce clash, speed and power collided. Energy and lightsabers flew. Explosive fireballs erupted in space, their blinding light bursting into view. The atmosphere was charged with a fierce momentum, as if the entire galaxy trembled in response to their battle. Lightsabers intertwined, sparks flashed, energy surged, and shields rippled. This was a convergence of iron and fire, blood and tears, light and dark, echoing deep within the soul. "Anakin, come back. The Empire's fate is sealed. Please reclaim your light. Anakin, my foolish brother. How much longer will you remain lost and fallen? Wake up." Obi-Wan and Jedi Li attacked while trying to awaken the light side of Darth Vader with their words. However, Darth Vader remained unmoved. "Anakin is dead. He was killed by my own weakness and kindness 10 years ago. Do not call me by that name anymore. I am now the Sith Lord, Darth Vader." Boom. A flash of light erupted as the 3 forces clashed in midair. The swarm of floating swords from the TIE fighters was shattered, and the floating shield from the mechas was destroyed. At the same time, each of their bodies was pushed back by the powerful recoil, sustaining significant damage. The engines howled in agony, armor cracked, and the 3 figures plummeted toward the planet below, streaking through the night sky like meteors, producing a piercing metallic roar. All 3 struggled to control their descent, guided by the Force to ensure a safe landing. Ultimately, they fell into a dense jungle, and with the cushioning effect of the branches, they managed to perform a final maneuver to flip out of their cockpits just before hitting the ground. As the 3 figures landed steadily on thick tree trunks, their mechas crashed to the ground behind them, creating a thunderous impact that kicked up a massive cloud of dust and flames. Buzzing, with the red, blue, and green lightsabers raised, the next round of confrontation began. High atop the tree trunks stood the 3 powerful figures, lightsabers in hand, focused and unwavering, their gazes sharp. Like a climactic battle at the pinnacle of a grand palace, Every move radiated boundless fighting spirit and sense of mission. The two sides quickly clashed again, leaping and darting through the jungle, executing strikes from various angles. Obi-Wan continued to try to reason with Darth Vader, his former apprentice, deliberately avoiding critical strikes with each attack. But this behavior only served to further anger Vader. Eventually, in a moment of vulnerability, the soft-hearted Obi-Wan paid the price. Darth Vader drew a second lightsaber and unleashed a dual-wielding technique, swiftly severing Obi-Wan's arms and causing him to fall painfully from the tree trunk. Obi-Wan. Jedi Li's eyes widened in shock. Darth Vader stood before him, wielding two lightsabers, tauntingly saying, "Owen, my foolish half-brother. I never expected even a piece of trash like you could become a Jedi. This truly surprises me. But what can you do? Do you see? This is the power of the dark side. You will never defeat me." Jedi Li furrowed his brow, his gaze deep. He reached out with the Force to retrieve Obi-Wan's fallen lightsaber. "Oh, dual-wielding? So you, like me, are skilled in the fifth form of lightsaber combat?" Jedi Li raised his left sword forward and held the other behind him, completely disregarding the initial stance of the fifth form. This scene immediately caused Darth Vader to laugh contemptuously. "So, you're just a clueless fool, and you think you can handle dual-wielding? Without trying, how would one know?" Jedi Li's body sank, and his eyes seemed to reveal memories from the past. "This swordsmanship witnessed my experiences and life-and-death encounters with former friends. Now, let me show you my true strength when I draw my second sword." This sword technique is called Starburst Airstream Slash. Chapter 184. The final redemption of Darth Vader's Starburst Airstream Slash, also known as Starburst Abandonment Slash, means that once this technique is unleashed, the opponent can give up on healing, as a skill awarded to the player with the fastest reaction speed in Sword Art Online. The Starburst Airstream Slash belongs to the EX level and consists of 16 consecutive strikes. It includes actions such as slashing, advancing horizontal cuts, spinning slashes, dual parallel slashes, cross downward slashes, cross upward slashes, advancing downward slashes, reverse grip slashes, alternating left and right cuts, and thrusting straight cuts. The essence of this technique is one word: fast. Extremely fast. So fast that others cannot react, so fast that others cannot defend. In the physical engine of the virtual game, it manifests as a sword-swinging speed akin to a hurricane, creating a violent airstream. In Jedi Li's past task worlds, this skill, once reinforced by the system, became one of his trump card abilities. Now, he will wield dual lightsabers to showcase the profundity of this swordsmanship to Darth Vader. Without any further ado, Jedi Li instantly charged forward with his sword raised. Banter can only be executed when one can match the opponent. Otherwise, why would they listen to you? Darth Vader, don't you think the dark side is more powerful than the light? Today, I will shatter that belief. Starburst Abandonment Slash. The lightsabers danced like explosions, flashing brilliantly. So fast, the blue and green lights of the sabers streaked through the air like starlight, and in the blink of an eye, the blades had vanished from sight. The sword tips traversed the air, leaving sharp traces as if the very fabric of space was being torn apart by their speed. In the next moment, Jedi Li's sword strikes transformed into a torrential tempest, a continuous barrage of slashes, each bringing a fierce sound of wind. The sharp whistling seemed to announce the limits of speed to the world. Despite the Force's perception and early warning, at this moment, Darth Vader saw a dazzling array of countless elusive sword shadows. The speed was so fast that he could barely react. With no other choice, he had to rely on his mastery of the fifth form of swordsmanship, constantly blocking and barely holding on, fighting and retreating. However, Jedi Li's swordsmanship had already surpassed human limits. Each strike contained a perfect combination of power and technique, with the blade flickering like an illusion, making it impossible to predict the direction of the next attack. As the saying goes, those who defend too long will eventually lose. Jedi Li finally found an opportunity. When he deflected the opponent's lightsaber, leaving them momentarily stunned, he executed a thrust aimed directly at Darth Vader's face. It felt as though time had been stretched. Darth Vader could only tilt his head to dodge, narrowly escaping, but a massive gash was left on his helmet, revealing part of his menacing face inside. Jedi Li was determined not to give his opponent a moment to breathe, continuing to press forward with a series of slashing attacks. Bang 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 bang. Under the relentless barrage of the Starburst Healing Slash, Darth Vader nearly lost his footing, staggering under the blows, not even allowing him a chance to use the Force to choke him. Such speed was the deadliest weapon in battle, no matter how powerful the enemy was. It was difficult to withstand the rapid strikes of the sword. The sheer limit of this speed was shocking, as the swordsman's figure appeared like a streak of light, leaving an indelible mark in Darth Vader's heart. What kind of swordsmanship was this? Crash! The hilts of two lightsabers were severed, and the impact sent Darth Vader flying. Jedi Li was also feeling the strain. The use of the Starburst Healing Slash had put immense pressure on his heart. His heart rate surged to 300 to 500 beats per minute. If he continued to use it, he might collapse before his enemy did. Currently, his hands were numb, and he stood there gasping for air, employing a breathing technique to quickly stabilize his heart rate. If it weren't for a previously acquired ability called Iron Will, he might have already knelt down. However, now was the perfect time to begin his verbal persuasion. Anakin, my brother, though your heart is submerged in darkness, I know there is still a flicker of desire for justice and light deep within you. You were once a great Jedi, a Skywalker, walking the path of the light. Your strength and wisdom were meant to protect the innocent, maintain peace, and save hope. But now, you are consumed by the power of the dark side, becoming a tool of the Empire. You have betrayed your original intention. You have been used by Palpatine. Jedi Li's words seemed to transcend time and space, reaching deep into Darth Vader's heart. His gaze instantly filled with memories of the past and reflections on the future. Seizing the moment, Jedi Li continued. Darkness is not your true home, Anakin. The light side of the Force always exists. It is the source of our Jedi belief and strength. You can choose to return to the light and reclaim your lost self. Jedi Li's voice was gentle yet firm, filled with wisdom and hope. He understood that awakening the light within Anakin would not be easy, but he believed that everyone has a chance at redemption. Anakin, your fate is not bound by darkness. The fear and anger within you will only lead to more loss. Wake up and find your true self. Jedi Li's words lingered in the air, as if searching for that glimmer of light within Anakin's soul. His gaze remained fixed on the man before him, awaiting his response. Inside Darth Vader, a fierce struggle was unfolding, as the dark side clashed violently with the light. Turmoil and pain etched across his face. Sensing an opportunity, Jedi Li unleashed his final card. Even if you do not consider yourself, think of your son and daughter. They have already lost their mother. Must you, as their father, continue to race down this dark path? Jedi Li's words shone like a brilliant light, instantly piercing through the darkness of Darth Vader and awakening the Anakin Skywalker deep within him. What are you saying? My son and daughter? Jedi Li replied, that's right. Everything was a deception by Palpatine. He fabricated lies to lure you completely into the dark side, causing you immense pain. Although your wife died in childbirth, she gave you a pair of twins. You're lying. That is impossible, Darth Vader exclaimed, his voice strained, clearly struggling to believe Jedi Li's words, yet deep inside, he felt a glimmer of hope and longing, wishing it were true. I am not lying. Your daughter is named Leia Organa. She was raised by Senator Bail Organa on Alderaan. Your son is named Luke. He was entrusted to me by Obi-Wan for care. They are both 10 years old. Very lovely and quite healthy. They are with the Rebel Alliance now. If you can return, you can reunite with them. This news struck him like a bolt from the blue, leaving him in turmoil and confusion. Can someone like me, Owen, really be a good father? Jedi Li knew that awakening the light within Darth Vader would not happen overnight, but he believed that no matter how deep the darkness, light would always prevail. He would continue to strive for the sake of the mission, for the redemption of Darth Vader, and for the balance of the Force. So, he spoke to him with a deep tone. No one is born a good father. But if you are willing to try and learn, then what was lost will eventually return. It is not too late. Come home with me. Luke and Leia are waiting for you. This time, you will be a good father. Enjoy the warmth of family. As he spoke, Jedi Li extended his right hand towards Darth Vader. This gesture carried no malice or defense. It was a complete embrace of the character Owen, hoping that this half-brother could turn back to the light. His soul stirred, and thoughts elevated. It was as if the darkness in Darth Vader began to quietly fade away, and the one he was shaking hands with was a man named Anakin Skywalker. Although the dark side had not disappeared from him, a delicate balance had been achieved with the light side. Perhaps this was his ultimate redemption. Chapter 185, The End of the Galactic Empire. At the moment Anakin and Jedi Li shook hands, far away on Coruscant, Emperor Palpatine was using the Force to project a highly seductive voice into his mind. Darth Vader, my apprentice. Do not be deceived by them. What they say is the lie. Have you forgotten? Who showed you the way when you were at your most helpless? Who pulled you back from the brink of death during your greatest suffering? And who, without reservation, imparted everything to you, granting you trust, power, and a position far above what you had before? Have you forgotten these experiences? Think back to the past, the decay and filth of the old Republic, the rigidity and inflexibility of the Jedi Order. Their rules and traditions are like shackles and constraints for someone as gifted as you. They are the chains that limit your potential. They constantly try to isolate you, but only I, Palpatine, truly care for you. Darkness is not destruction. It is the path to your redemption. Light will only blind your eyes and plunge you back into a hypocritical nightmare. You are the child of darkness, the true heir of Lord Vader. Your past struggles have solidified into determination, and your former weakness has transformed into strength. Complete your training, fulfill your destiny, and eliminate those who stand in your way. Only then can you fill the void within you. This voice carried an extreme allure and temptation, making one very eager to listen and believe. However, the Jedi are not fighting alone. Even separated by thousands of light years on different battlefields, the Force guides everyone and connects them together. Ezra Bridger and Kanan Jarrus, the master and apprentice, coordinated seamlessly, weaving through the enemy's stormtroopers while continuously deflecting blaster bolts and shouting, "Hope is like the sun. If you only believe when you see it, then you will never get through the long night." Cal Kestis and Seer Juanda operated their advanced mechs amidst the chaotic space battlefield, taking down enemy fighters while fervently yelling, "Abandon everything from the past, even if it means burying it yourself. Can this lead to your true self?" Master Yoda, aboard a warship with his companion, gazed at the reflection in the viewport and sighed. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. Only hope can illuminate the lost path, inspiring people to pursue justice and happiness. Ahsoka Tano, wielding a lightsaber in each hand, skillfully defended against the onslaught of two Imperial Inquisitors. With a fluid motion, she pushed them back and took a step back, sinking her stance and shouting sharply, "My master, wake up. Darkness only brings pain and destruction, while light grants us strength and peace. Do not be deceived by fate's manipulation. Do not let darkness rule your heart." Obi-Wan, gravely injured and lying beneath a tree, slowly moved from the bushes. Despite his fatigue, his eyes were deep and bright. "Anakin, you have always had a spirit of adventure, filled with resistance to traditional teachings, which has shaped your impulsive and angry nature. In truth, the Jedi Order does not distrust you. You are simply not ready yet. As your master, guiding you back to the right path, even at the risk of being surpassed by you, is our true responsibility." In Anakin's mind, the serene sunlight of the Jedi Temple appeared, where a group of robed Jedi looked at him. Their gazes were firm and wise, continuously expressing heartfelt words through their speech and sincerity. "Come back, come back, come back." The first, the second, the third, more and more voices called out to him. The words of the Jedi washed over Anakin's inner darkness like warm currents. Even the hysterical curses and roars of Palpatine were drowned out by this overwhelming wave of sound. At the end of this wave, two tender childlike voices could be heard. "Daddy, come back." Anakin's pupils trembled as he slowly turned to look in the direction of the voices, where he saw a boy and a girl waving and calling to him in the sunlight. At that moment, it felt as if ice and snow were melting, as if the night was being dispelled, as if loneliness was being embraced. Anakin truly awakened. His heart grew resolute, his eyes sparkled with light. And he finally found his true self. "Palpatine, get out of my mind." With a thunderous roar, a piercing scream echoed, as if struck by two powerful forces, directly dispersing Palpatine's voice. The sun rose, and the night faded away. Dawn finally welcomed its light. This also signified the end of the Empire. By the time Chong Wei received the news of Darth Vader's surrender and the complete capitulation of the Empire's southwestern quadrant, a day had already passed. How powerful is this Owen? After Obi-Wan was severely injured, he unleashed a dual-wielding attack and ultimately defeated Darth Vader in a one-on-one battle, while also using words to awaken Vader's light side, leading to his final surrender. This is simply unbelievable. Luke's adoptive father can't possibly be a time traveler, right? Who knew he would be this formidable? I really underestimated him. Now I even want to arrange for an interrogation chair to question him thoroughly. Complaints aside, it's hard to blame Chong Wei for saying this, as it was indeed exaggerated. It's like a lowly soldier in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms suddenly popping up to defeat and capture the martial arts ceiling, Lu Bu. Anyone would be dumbfounded by such a maneuver, right? You could say this isn't the canonical Star Wars. Owen turning from a mere farmer into a Jedi is one thing, but defeating Darth Vader is simply too much. Chong Wei looked at the intelligence in his hand, and his right hand unconsciously touched his neck. The memory of being force-choked by the opponent was still fresh in his mind. He had originally planned that if such a powerful threat couldn't be handled well, he would prepare to use a Level 5 civilization warship for a covert assassination. It seems there must be some secret about this Owen. Could it be that he has a system too? Chong Wei murmured to himself, temporarily setting this matter aside. The war was not over yet, and the other attack routes of the Rebel Alliance were encountering significant resistance and casualties. However, under Chong Wei's command, the two-dimensional whale swallowing membrane turned these tough bones into fragments. Since this weapon had already been exposed, Chong Wei decided not to hide it any longer and maximize the results before the enemy could react. Now, the final fate of this broken ship of the Empire was already sealed. In the face of the endless ocean of the people, it would sink along with Palpatine's throne. Chapter 186. Mutual Old 6. After more than 3 months of continuous siege and plunder by the Rebel Alliance, the Imperial Army, led by Marshal Sauron, was suffering repeated defeats. It is now impossible to turn the tide, and Marshal Zoran can only delay the Empire's downfall for as long as possible. One must admit, he is an exceptional soldier. No matter how dire the situation, he can display his heroic charm and strategic talent, leading his subordinates to achieve one victory and miracle after another. For this, Chang Wei greatly admires him. If he could be persuaded to defect, perhaps he could be brought into the ranks of the alliance as a fleet commander. However, every attempt at surrender has been met with refusal, stating that a soldier's fate is to be loyal to their country and to fight to the death rather than surrender. This infuriates Chang Wei, who can only keep urging the propaganda efforts, continuing round-the-clock broadcasts to incite rebellion. He estimates that when the enemy is truly cornered, he might succeed in persuading them by arguing against unnecessary sacrifices. The current empire, much like the Germany of the past, is already in its twilight, unable to turn back. The sparks it has ignited are merely the last rays of its dying light. Therefore, Chang Wei is not in a hurry. Instead, he leads the rebel alliance to steadily advance, removing the empire's military strength entirely and reclaiming all planets. As the empire's ship is about to sink, the nobles and conglomerates naturally do not wish to go down with it, and thus many choose to switch sides. Some even directly backstab the imperial garrison, presenting their heads as tokens of allegiance to the rebel alliance. Ultimately, the renowned general, the last marshal of the empire, Zoran, is killed by his own people. His guard is ambushed and wiped out, and his head is severed, dying without dignity. Thus, the empire's military, leaderless, collapses in an instant. Do you know who did it? When Chang Wei received this news, his face turned pale, and his expression was extremely grim. Matt Horner replied, "It was the Interstellar Banking Group. According to them, this is a gift for the commander and a token of their loyalty." Chang Wei slowly opened the exquisite box before him, revealing Zoran's head inside. Lying quietly in the high-tech container, lifelike and showing no signs of decay. He closed the box, though he did not display his inner fury. He silently sentenced the Interstellar Banking Group to death. As for those corrupt companies and powers, do not think that switching sides will cleanse your sins or spare you from the people's judgment. For now, I will let you go, but once important matters are settled, we will settle accounts later. Now, since Marshal Zoran was killed, the rebel alliance has begun to move unimpeded, advancing rapidly. The Empire's soldiers are either dead or have surrendered, their morale completely shattered. Soon, the main fleet led by Chang Wei arrives at the Empire's capital, Coruscant. This is the last bastion of resistance for the Empire. Besides possessing a large number of ground defense troops and palace guards, all its warships have fled. Although Chang Wei's forces hold absolute air superiority, the enemy's ground troops are die-hard loyalists to Emperor Palpatine and will never surrender. In order to avoid causing massive destruction to the planet, the commander could only choose to send landing troops for ground combat. The battle erupted instantly, and under the cover of firepower from the sky, the Jedi Knights raised their various lightsabers and led the troops towards the palace. Along the way, apart from the enemy stormtroopers outlined by their silhouettes from dozens of meters away, the rest were mere weaklings, easily defeated. The only resistance encountered was from the Royal Guard after breaching the palace. Generally speaking, the Royal Guard was equivalent to elite warriors, highly skilled and well-equipped, with a certain resistance to the Force. When armed with energy spears, they could easily contend with, or even kill, ordinary Jedi. However, when they faced the Astartes and the unique being, they were overwhelmed in an instant. Lacking the Force, they were completely crushed, especially the unique being. Through continuous combat, he discovered that not only were his physical abilities rapidly improving, but he also seemed to possess an incredible capacity for learning. Every time he observed various combat techniques, he could master them immediately. Moreover, he found that he had an excellent memory and quick thinking. The so-called powerful martial skills and force abilities gradually became clear to him through careful observation and stealthy learning, and began to integrate into his instinct for battle. Even more interesting was that whenever he was surrounded and outmatched by the Imperial enforcers, simply shouting, "Daddy, save me," would cause a golden light to emanate from him, instantly nullifying all of the enemy's force abilities. Now, with a single slash or sweep, he wielded immense power. Enemies would perish upon contact. A towering figure over 3 meters tall, he was surprisingly agile, able to leap 10 meters high without the need for a jetpack, performing various acrobatics just like a Jedi. The indestructible power armor fit him perfectly, allowing him to charge through enemies like an unstoppable force, striking down anyone who stood in his way. The commander naturally saw the situation on the unique being's side through the battle scenes, and quickly understood. The so-called unique being was a one-of-a-kind existence. In the universe, each genetic being was not inherently powerful, but achieved demigod status through their extraordinary talent, combined with continuous learning and growth. Although this young man was impulsive and prone to mistakes, he had a good character, and now that he was physically maturing, he would undoubtedly become a top-tier fighting force for the fleet in the future. The battle within the palace was not particularly brutal. primarily due to the overwhelming number of powerful allies on the Commander's side. It was as if stars had gathered. Figures like Obi-Wan, Yoda, Anakin, Ahsoka, Owen, Ezra Bridger, Kanan Jarrus, Cal Kestis, and many others were present, ready to put a final stop to this tyrannical empire. Upon entering the main hall of the palace, Palpatine and his last remaining guards had been waiting for a long time. Then, with a command to engage, the scene erupted into chaos. Mt. Redger holds the boss, while Zhong Kai, Kanan Jarrus, Ezra Bridger, and Ahsoka handle the elite monsters. The rest quickly buff up and focus fire. Rush the boss. In just a moment, Palpatine's tongue flicks out, like a dead dog, his body riddled with lightsaber wounds, eyes wide open in death. Hee, quite a performance. After watching the whole thing, Chong Wei confirmed that Palpatine was faking his death. His consciousness had likely transferred to a clone body on Exegol through the dark side of the Force. Exegol is a planet hidden by ancient Sith, home to an ancient Sith temple that contains many secrets and uses of the dark side of the Force. It also harbors an eternal fleet created through automation, waiting for the day to rise again. Palpatine must believe that the Rebel Alliance is strong, so he avoids confrontation by hiding behind a false death, waiting for the situation to change while biding his time. This strategy is quite clever, but little does he know. I, Chong Wei, am well versed in the plot. Once I locate your eternal fleet, a black hole bomb will take care of everything. Thinking of this, Chong Wei couldn't help but glance back at Steidman, who was operating a device, and asked, "Have you successfully tracked the location?" The consciousness transfer through the dark side of the Force should involve brain quantum waves. We should have a pretty good understanding of this area by now, right? Steidman adjusted his glasses and replied with a smile, "Sir, don't worry. Although the location of Exegol has been concealed, we have already detected the data from the brain quantum wave transfer. Now we just need to use high-powered computing for spatial comparison. And we should be able to narrow this data down to a very reasonable range within a few days." Chong Wei chuckled. "That's great." Chapter 187. Approaching conclusion. Coruscant, located at the center of the galaxy, is the seat of the Old Republic's government and the capital of the Galactic Empire following its replacement of the Old Republic. Its political status is extremely high, akin to a capital city. To possess it is to declare oneself rightful place in the world. It is like a metallic planet that reflects a unique silver light under the sun. The name Coruscant itself means shining city. The surface of the planet is covered by urban landscapes and an extensive urban transportation network, with towering skyscrapers reaching the edge of the atmosphere, while their bases extend deep into the dark shadows below. Against the backdrop of the sky, a continuous flow of hover vehicles crisscrosses endlessly. Even in the deep of night, Coruscant remains vibrant, alive with the flickering city lights and flowing vehicles, a bustling metropolis that refuses to sleep. The surface land of the planet is almost entirely utilized. Forests, mountains, rivers, and lakes have all vanished due to urban encroachment. The high level of urbanization leads to an extremely fast-paced lifestyle and a very dense population. The permanent population of the planet is approximately 1 trillion, with 68 being humans, the vast majority of whom are high-end talents and top elites. After taking control of the planet, the leader couldn't help but think, this planet is so crowded, what if a catastrophic weapon were to strike? The casualties would be devastating. Such thoughts lingered, but it was likely that no one, except for a madman, would dare to do so. This kind of reckless behavior would be akin to setting fire to a city, destined to be condemned by all and etched in history as a disgrace, never to recover. Just as the conversation with a certain official concluded, an urgent communication arrived from a group on the ground. Once the video call connected, the leader saw the anxious expression of the contact. "This is bad. After the demise of a key figure, the Force warned us that danger is imminent. There are hidden contingencies left behind. The core of the planet is undergoing a massive change. In about 8 minutes, the planet will explode like a powder keg. Everyone on the planet will perish." "What?" The leader abruptly stood up, blood pressure soaring in disbelief. Was this key figure truly so deranged? Even in death, there was no peace? Attempting to take everything down with him? How could this happen? It was likely that he had been disturbed at night, yelling for help. The leader couldn't afford to think further and immediately ordered all warships to penetrate the planet's atmosphere for emergency rescue. They would save as many as possible, prioritizing their own people. They had to evacuate the affected area before the planet exploded in 8 minutes. Thus, all the advanced warships initiated tactical jumps, flashing green light as they appeared over the city. The massive steel formations were breathtaking, shaking everyone to the core. Following this, they began deploying numerous transport ships like flowers scattered by a celestial maiden. Even the flagship, under the leader's forceful command, jumped into the palace and dispatched the most reckless pilots to rescue the group on the ground. For minutes and 39 seconds. For minutes and 38 seconds. For minutes and 37 seconds. Watching the countdown tick down, the leader clenched his fists, gritting his teeth in frustration. Too slow. At this rate, they would only manage to save a few million at most. But there were trillions on the planet. Were they really going to give up? How could this be happening? After this, he would make sure to hold the key figure accountable, just as the leader was despairing and preparing to abandon most of the lives on the planet. It seemed as if a massive rift opened in the cosmos. A luxuriously designed giant ship emerged from hyperspace. Upon closer inspection, it was the Titanic, which had been kept in reserve, serving as a mascot. The Titanic, a large interstellar cruise ship of a fifth-level civilization, immediately set sail from its dock upon receiving the leader's directive and activated hyperspace travel to join the rescue mission. Well, what's the point now? Chang Wei shook his head and sighed. With 2 minutes and 27 seconds left until the explosion of the planet, there was no time to think, at most. They could save a few 100,000 more lives. However, a miracle happened. A beautiful female voice suddenly broadcasted from the Titanic. Dear passengers, this is the Titanic, a large immigration tourism ship. To ensure a safe, comfortable, and enjoyable travel experience for our guests, we will do our utmost to provide you with various services. Thank you. Please remain calm as we take you on an unforgettable journey. Chang Wei was taken aback and looked towards the Titanic, only to see a massive energy field enveloping the ship as it moved towards the planet. Then, a trillion people around the world, including their pets, transformed into a beam of white light and disappeared from their locations, akin to the warp technology of the Protoss. They were collectively transported onto the Titanic. Wow. Is this similar to Protoss technology? Chang Wei was too astonished to react, quickly commanding the fleet to leave the explosion zone. While opening the information panel of the Titanic to check its details. Name, Level 5 Civilization Large Immigration Tourism Ship, Titanic. Length, 666 meters. Width, 897 meters. Engine, 5-directional tricomposite engine. 5-directional represents navigation in 5 different axes. Tricomposite means it integrates conventional, light speed, and warp travel modes. Outer armor, Xian Fluid V-type, grafting net. Energy core, energy particle embedded matrix. Equipment, energy field generator, warp transporter, group recall protocol, traveler protection corridor, dimensional suppression chamber, space folding device, life recombiner, virtual network blissful paradise, and many other entertainment devices. Weapons, none. Defensive shields, 1 deflection force field generator, 1 void shield creator. Internal space, utilizing space dimension insertion mode. The ship has 190 million standard cabins, 30 million VIP cabins, 1 million Immortal Crown cabins, 1,000 Resplendent Master cabins, and 1 Universe Lord cabin. Crew, 50 million general service and maintenance robots, 1 million ordinary humanoid maids, 100,000 advanced maids, 100 top-tier maids, and 2 void songstresses. My goodness, what an incredible configuration. Chang Wei had previously thought the Titanic was just a humorous tourism ship and hadn't paid attention to it or its introduction. Now, after looking at the details, he was nearly speechless. Upon further investigation into the ship's origins, he discovered it was from swallowing the starry sky. Nothing more to say. The system is impressive. Boom. A brilliant explosion of light flashed from outside the bridge's window, snapping Chang Wei back to reality as he looked at the shattered remains of the planet. Shaking his head, he lamented, I never expected such a famous ancient planet in the Star Wars to be destroyed because of my appearance. What a pity. Matt Horner chimed in. Commander, everything has its cause and effect. Breaking down and then rebuilding is not necessarily a bad thing. A new nation might indeed require a fresh atmosphere, rather than merely overlaying the old with something new. Chang Wei chuckled and nodded, saying, Haha Matt, your twisted reasoning is getting smoother. But it does sound good. It seems our time in this world is also coming to an end. Chapter 188. The end of the Star Wars world. The destruction of Coruscant caused a massive shock. No one expected that the final battle to overthrow the Empire would be so brutal. Fortunately, the people of Coruscant were all rescued by the Luminary Fleet. They are currently crowded on the Titanic, enjoying luxurious travel and relaxation while waiting to be resettled. At this moment, the most important task for the Alliance of Freedom Fighters is to quickly announce the victory of the Liberation War across the galaxy, and then, with the momentum of their great success, reorganize the government and establish a new nation. Regarding such matters, the Alliance is full of talented individuals, so there is no need for Chang Wei to worry. Everything is proceeding in an orderly manner. Finally, after more than a month of preparation and discussion, the new nation was officially named the Galactic New Republic, with its capital set on Alderaan and its flag designated as the Red Star flag, symbolizing the hope stained with the blood of revolutionaries. It will remind people of history and sacrifice, bearing responsibility and will. The Galactic New Republic will advocate for 12 core values: prosperity, democracy, civilization, harmony, freedom, equality, justice, rule of law, patriotism, dedication, integrity, and kindness. It asserts that the entire society should function as a whole, with the power to manage and distribute production resources owned and controlled by all members of society. Based on public interests, it aims to form a benevolent system. Human-centered, it will cultivate correct subjective cognition through awareness, understanding, judgment, decision-making, and distinguishing right from wrong, thus reflecting the rightful value or role among people, events, and things. As the first leader of the Galactic New Republic, Chang Wei was unanimously approved at the conference. His first act upon taking office was to ruthlessly eliminate the parasites of the nation, the speculators, and the treasonous forces with blood debts. Those who deserved to be punished were executed, and those who needed to be captured were taken. No pleas for mercy would be entertained. You can be the good ones. I'll be the bad guy. In a short time, many were shocked by Chang Wei's ruthless and unmerciful methods, slowly beginning to voice their discontent. However, Chang Wei remained unmoved. For he did not want to become the dragon slayer who turned into a dragon himself. He did not want a future society where the wicked thrived while the good were battered. When a nation or society loses fairness and justice, its bottom line will be continually breached. When tragedy becomes the norm, civilization devolves into barbarism. When shamelessness is everywhere, what is deemed capability is merely a competition of deceit. The group that Chang Wei needs to deal with is a cancer to society. Their existence will only slowly erode this newly established country, while they continue to drain its resources and subtly alter the social atmosphere and people's thoughts. In the end, patriotism will be dismissed as sycophancy, kindness as naivety, justice as hypocrisy, ideals as childishness, and sacrifice as foolishness. Only self-serving sophistication will be praised and lauded by them. They will don the guise of authority and human compassion, attacking others and spreading their influence, brainwashing and assimilating those around them. They consider themselves neutral observers, yet they are filled with arrogance and prejudice on many issues. Therefore, Chang Wei must nip this problem in the bud. Although it cannot be completely eradicated, at least it can serve as a deterrent and significantly delay its spread. At the same time, Chang Wei has pushed against popular opinion to dismantle the banking currency system and eliminate wages. Wages are a tool created by capital to ensnare individuals. Regardless of how much one earns, accepting this system and forming habits means becoming a small cog in the financial machinery. Over time, what drives you to work will become the whip of capital. The society will polarize, the wealth gap will widen, and competition will intensify, leading to severe social conflicts and corruption. At that time, money will be able to buy dignity, time, health, and even life. The old republic fell into such corruption and decay, ultimately being bought off, divided, and plundered. Therefore, we must learn from history. So, if not using currency, what should be used? Contribution value. It will be distributed according to the national GDP. Contribution value arises from production, services, transportation, and management, among others. There will be a detailed calculation standard to ensure that no loopholes or unreasonable situations arise. Contribution value can be exchanged for corresponding social basic supplies and other resources, and cannot be traded or gifted. It is not currency, so it does not increase or decrease with the supplies received, but is determined by one's contributions each month. If one is idle and lazy, their contribution value will only decrease. Under this extensive calculation, there will be no excessive waste, corruption, or unfair distribution. To obtain a better life and resources, one must enhance their contribution value, which is the essence of hard work leading to wealth. When a certain demand in society increases, the corresponding contribution value will also rise, and vice versa. This demand distribution model is somewhat similar to hierarchical contributions in swarm behavior or military rationing systems. The difference is that it is more rational and humane. It is also inspired by Chang Wei's long-term observations while distributing supplies to the Guiding Light Fleet. Moreover, isn't such a communist society the ultimate stage of social development as described by certain great figures? Nowadays, Chang Wei's series of reforms and policies have been welcomed and praised by countless people at the grassroots level. However, those whose capital interests are harmed regard Chang Wei as a sworn enemy, wishing to eliminate him at once. In response, Biragana and Ming Masama have approached Chang Wei to persuade him, believing that his methods are too radical and that such drastic reforms should be approached gradually. As he said, "Let the good people take on the good roles, while all the bad ones fall on me." This is called bearing the sins of the present while achieving merit for the future. Moreover, Chang Wei subtly indicated that his time is running out. Faced with a barrage of insults and sporadic assassination attempts, Chang Wei remained unfazed, steadily carrying out his final plan. He orchestrated an incident that resulted in a fire, claiming the lives of those shameless elites who were imprisoned, sipping fine wine, enjoying gourmet meals, and waiting to be bailed out. The fierce blaze raged for 3 days and nights before the news was finally disclosed. When confronted by a group of determined warriors and revolutionary comrades, Chang Wei did not offer any defense, but chose to silently endure. Just like previous assassination attempts. A female servant in the residence suddenly drew a handgun and fired at Chang Wei. Although the attack was sudden, she did not succeed. The miniature dimension spear acted like a protective sword, deflecting all assaults. Even if the attacker were a dark warrior, they could not come close to Chang Wei, being pierced by the dimension spear instead. As for the other guards, they were of no concern at all. Looking at the female servant pinned to the ground by the guards, Chang Wei softly asked, "Why did you want to kill me?" The young woman, in her 20s and with delicate features, despite her head pressed to the ground, revealed a fierce glint in her eyes. "You corrupt official. You will meet a terrible end. Why should the wealth accumulated by my family over generations fade away under your system? I refuse to accept it. Transitioning from frugality to luxury is easy. But from luxury to frugality is difficult." Chang Wei's policies and reforms aim for a harmonious nation, shared prosperity, equality, and prosperity, which naturally sacrifices the interests of some people. It is normal for them to struggle to accept this at first. Moreover, the fact that an assassin could infiltrate the residence of a high-ranking government official indicates that there are people within the government who want him dead. But he remains unafraid. Chang Wei's gaze was profound, as if he could see through the passage of time, with thoughts constantly flying towards the future and beyond. Though an era will eventually come to an end, each era is destined to leave behind its indelible spirit. The nation built by himself and countless revolutionaries will explore forward in confusion, seek paths in reflection, move towards unity amidst chaos, achieve rebirth in unity, establish character through exploration, retain hope in perseverance, merge in blood and fire, transform through that merging, step onto peaks with confidence, endure through collapse, continue after fragmentation, and rise again after falling. This is civilization. Chang Wei ordered the guards to release the woman. After several days of handling and preparation, he finally made the last move in the Star Wars world. "Are you leaving with the Luminal fleet?" Chang Wei nodded and patiently said to Byrogana, "I never intended to stay here forever. But I remained until now to ensure that this newborn nation does not go astray. Now that the reforms and new policies have gained widespread recognition among the people, the overall situation is settled. I've finished all the dirty work, and all the hatred and insults have been directed at me alone. It's time to cleanly hand over my position to you." Byrogana's eyes turned red, and his voice choked. "But why do this? Who among us old folks can truly understand your good intentions? Don't you think about yourself?" Chang Wei smiled and waved his hand dismissively. "It doesn't matter. Fame and fortune are just external matters. Righteousness and kindness can be hidden in the heart. Remember, do not let our revolutionary efforts go to waste. And do not allow those with ulterior motives to take advantage." Byrogana clenched his fists and nodded solemnly. Afterwards, Chang Wei met with many people and discussed various matters. Among them, Owen was the last person he saw. "Owen, are you a traveler? Or do you possess a system?" Chang Wei asked straightforwardly. Jadely, who was attached to Owen, did not reveal the truth, as the system did not allow it. He could only feign confusion and express that he did not understand. Chang Wei did not pursue the matter further and shifted the topic. "What are your plans next, Owen?" Owen replied, "I really liked the Hunter-class Star Destroyer you lent me last time, so I built a modified version for myself. I plan to chase the footsteps of the Purgil and seek the Temple of the Jedi in the universe, looking for a way to achieve a permanent balance between the light and dark sides." This was a follow-up task triggered by Jade Li's system, indicating that he was about to part ways with Chang Wei. Chang Wei nodded after listening and offered his blessings. As the two passed each other, they looked at one another, wanting to say something but holding back. Finally, they exchanged smiles, understanding without words. "Take care, Owen. You too, Chang Wei." A day later, a Star-class strategic cloud ship launched a surprise attack on the planet Exegol, dropping a black hole bomb there, as Palpatine and his eternal fleet were about to be annihilated. A powerful resentment and unwillingness, accompanied by a terrifying dark side of the Force, struck Chang Wei's mind as he watched this spectacular scene unfold. "Chang Wei, you will die? Damn you. I curse you. You will never have a good ending. It turns out you are just a pathetic worm. I have seen your tragic fate. Ha ha." Palpatine's consciousness dissipated like sand, and Chang Wei could not withstand such a powerful mental attack. He blacked out and fainted. Soon after, he heard the system's notification in his mind. Beep. Save the Jedi Order on the brink of extinction, save all oppressed people, and take the lead in raising the banner of resistance against the Empire in this world, gathering all those with insight. The overthrow of the galactic empire established by the Dark Lord Sith, Palpatine, has been fully accomplished. The Lightbringer fleet can remain in this world for a maximum of 24 hours. After 24 hours, the system will initiate a forced return. Chapter 189. A special dream. The subsequent developments in the Star Wars universe are as follows. A certain reader, recognized for their contributions, crafted a custom battleship. which ultimately became their personal vehicle, with the ship's data available in the community. The Jedi, Owen, took to the stars in his specially designed Hunter-class starship, embarking on a quest to find a solution for the permanent balance of the Force. Anakin received technological treatment from the Lightbringers, restoring his normal appearance, and together with his daughter Leia and son Luke, retreated to his wife's homeland, Naboo, to live in seclusion, no longer involving himself in worldly affairs. He decided to dedicate the latter half of his life to accompany his children, striving to be a good father and make up for the lost familial bond. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Kanan Jarrus, Cal Kestis, and others, with the help of Master Eno's hologram, located all Force-sensitive children and used this information to re-establish the Jedi Order. Ahsoka Tano did not return to the Jedi Order, but continued to follow her own path, setting out alone into the starry sea once again. Master Yoda, due to his advanced age, declined the honor and invitation to join the Jedi Council, choosing instead to retreat with his young species, Grogu, to a planet called Octu. There, Master Yoda took Grogu as his apprentice, patiently teaching him the ways of the Force. Today, the inner rim of the new Galactic Republic has stabilized, and the nation is thriving. However, the outer rim still grapples with the remnants of powerful factions, Hutt clans, armed warlords, and various space pirates. They are all eyeing this newly born nation, eager to take a piece for themselves. Thus, beneath the surface of what seems to be a peaceful and stable era, significant undercurrents are still at play. For a long time, the people enjoyed a prosperous and peaceful life, unaware that there is no such thing as tranquility. Rather, there are those who bear the burdens in places unseen. The first leader of the nation, Chang Wei, committed heinous acts during his reign, slaughtering loyal subjects and persecuting numerous elites using brutal means, destroying countless capital tycoons and powerful families, and undermining the established rule of the upper class. His actions were met with universal outrage. Ultimately, Chang Wei faced divine retribution for his cruelty, suddenly falling gravely ill and slipping into a coma. Following a vote by the Joint Council, it was decided to impeach Chang Wei from the position of national leader to allow him to recuperate. His successor will be the more moderate Senator Bail Organa. I thought this would be the best opportunity to eliminate Chang Wei and take command of the Light Chaser fleet. But just as I was about to act, I found that he, along with the fleet, suddenly transformed into a white pillar of light and completely vanished. Sensing the departure of the Light Chaser fleet, several Jedi Masters scattered across the universe, who were aware of the situation, all bowed in the direction of Chang Wei's disappearance. May the Force be with you. Oh no, this month's allowance is gone again. A beautiful girl with white hair appeared in Chang Wei's mind like fragments of memory, constantly changing her attire, expressions, actions, and words, as if recording a journey of time and growth. Captain, my allowance is all spent. Can you? Oh yay. 61 points. I passed. Hey Captain, quickly compliment me on my looks. Ugh, it seems like I'm starting to like the Captain more and more. This is my body. I want to let anyone take it away. I'm no longer that childish Kiana Kaslana. Thank you for never disliking my mischief. Captain, let the past pain be buried deep in my heart. Thank you for walking with me all this way. Captain, thank you. When everything is over, I want to go back to St. Freya and take a look. Is it the Hershers of the Inn? Rather, I'm still that silly Kiana. Since you've witnessed my growth all along, it's time for me to watch over you now. I left the small gifts for those I love, but the big ones are for everyone. At this moment, has this imperfect story turned into what you hoped for? Countless images flashed by like slides, accompanied by countless sounds of joy, laughter, tears, and sorrow. They gave Chang Wei a feeling that was both familiar and strange, as if those stories had truly happened. As time passed, youthful and beautiful crew members came and went, some thriving while others perished. They held on until the last moment before the planet's explosion, fought bravely in the endless sea of insects, and shone with tenderness and admiration in the desperate darkness. Captain, don't be sad. Even the thickest book will have its last page. Even the most unforgettable stories will come to an end. The end of one story is also the beginning of another. As long as those names are not forgotten, the stories will continue. Smile as you reach the last page. The next part of the story will be up to you to continue. For some reason, even though this statement sounded particularly unfamiliar, Chang Wei, who was unconsciously shed a tear from the corner of his eye. At this moment, his deep consciousness seemed to be in a strange corridor of a ship. The lights around him began to dim as the deeply resonating words came to an end. Before long, the long corridor was completely shrouded in darkness, silent as a grave. Only at the end of the corridor lingered a dim flicker of candlelight, where a male figure seemed to be half lying down. Chang Wei slowly walked in that direction. In this confined environment, the sound of military boots striking the metal floor was particularly loud. However, just as he was about to reach the candlelight at the end of the corridor, the dream vanished, and he woke up. Commander, you're finally awake. The imagined scene of a perfect pink-haired girl waiting by his side from an anime did not appear. Instead, he saw Matt, Toshi, Zhongkai, and a group of big guys in powered armor standing guard. Seeing this scene, Changwei thought about closing his eyes and going back to sleep. But it was just a thought. How long was I unconscious? What time is it now? Zhongkai carefully helped Changwei sit up from the hospital bed and replied, "You've been unconscious for 3 days. We left the Star Wars world and are now in the Emer star system. It's very safe." We're back already? Yes. When we saw you suddenly fall unconscious, we were all really worried. Toshi said you suffered a mental shock. What exactly happened? Changwei rubbed his eyes and replied uncertainly, "I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I had a very special dream." Chapter 190. Preparing for the Astartes Legion. To be honest, the experience of this rescue mission had a profound impact on Changwei and contributed greatly to his growth. It wasn't just about commanding the fleet when the enemy was strong and he was weak, or various responses in the face of crises, or the passionate emotions witnessed during a revolutionary spirit, but also the reflections on right and wrong during radical reforms. Each event and scene was as vivid as if it had happened yesterday, leaving a lasting impression on Changwei. Sighing, Changwei decided not to dwell on it any longer and instead looked at the rewards for this system rescue mission. 1. Rescue the remaining members of the Jedi Order. Reward 10,000 task points. 2. Rescue Rogue One and its crew. Reward 10,000 task points. 3. Obtain the hollow projector of Jedi Master Enno stored in the secret temple and use it to locate all Force-sensitive children to rebuild the Jedi Order. Reward 100,000 task points. 4. Overthrow the Galactic Empire's rule and liberate all oppressed people. Reward 500,000 task points. In total, he earned 620,000 task points, which was quite generous. However, Changwei couldn't muster any excitement or joy like he used to when earning task points. Perhaps this was maturity. Changwei didn't rush to spend the task points. Instead, he washed his face in the bathroom and then walked out of the room. As soon as he stepped out, he was startled by Zhongkai, who had appeared from a cloaked state and tapped him on the shoulder. "Whoa, you scared me. Do you want to die or what?" "Zhongkai." Changwei grimaced, ready to unleash his frustration upon realizing it was Zhongkai. Zhongkai chuckled and kept apologizing. Sorry. It's a habit of mine as a ghost to approach people from behind. I'm really sorry. I just noticed that you seemed a bit off since you woke up, so I wanted to observe you secretly to see if you were possessed." "You're the one who is possessed. I've just become more mature." Hearing Changwei's angry scolding, Zhongkai couldn't help but laugh and said, All right. I know you've been feeling down lately. After all, as the commander of the fleet, the pressure, responsibilities, and matters you face are considerable, especially after experiencing so much. Seeing life and death, it's natural for your heart to feel torn and clouded. Brother, you need a sacred purification. Before Changwei could retort, Zhongkai handed him a flyer printed with images of various beautiful women, some human and some demi-human, like fox girls, cat girls, and slime girls. They were striking seductive poses, showcasing various uniforms, cosplay, and romantic themes that could ignite anyone's passion. "What is this?" Changwei stammered, his throat tightening and his eyes widening. Zhongkai playfully wrapped an arm around Changwei's neck and patiently explained, "This is one of the entertainment options on the Titanic, a legitimate kind of place for enjoyment. How about we go try it together? With your status as the fleet's highest commander, you might even be able to invite the 2 rare void singers to perform for us." This might not be appropriate." Changwei hesitated. "What are you worried about? We're just going to visit our subordinates and broaden our horizons. We're not doing anything wrong." Changwei looked at Zhongkai and suddenly felt he made a good point. Visiting subordinates? That does make sense. As the fleet's highest commander, it's my responsibility and duty to care for my subordinates. Since that's the case, there's no better time than now. Let us go and visit them properly today and expand our horizons a bit. However, it's still early, so let us not rush. You go ahead and reserve a good spot, and I'll take a stroll around to inspect each ship before coming over. That way it won't seem too abrupt." "You finally get it, huh?" They both chuckled, understanding each other without needing to say more. After watching Zhongkai leave, Changwei began to inspect the Hubrian alone. When he arrived at the crew lounge, he happened to see the hard-nosed troops playing cards, and Rue Go, who had just lost a bet, was being teased by everyone, performing a skit where he ate instant noodles through his nose. Seeing this, Changwei's face twitched, and instead of observing from the shadows, he strode over, causing a soldier who spotted him to stand at attention and shout, "General is here." Hearing this, everyone was startled and quickly covered their cards. The rest scattered, standing at attention and saluting with serious expressions. Changwei scanned the crowd, not taking their gambling seriously, although it violated military discipline. Such trivial matters would be handled by Riscacco. Sure enough, Major Riscacco had just returned from outside and immediately understood what was happening upon seeing the crowd. Then, With a nod from Chang Wei, Major Riscacco quickly approached a blanket, lifted it, and discovered the hidden playing cards underneath. This scene immediately made the nearby soldiers groan and roll their eyes. Major Riscacco smirked, put away the cards, and walked over to one soldier, asking, "Private Kimmel, tell me what kind of behavior it is to gather and gamble in the warship's quarters?" The soldier, known as Geimer, weakly replied, "Major, this behavior violates military discipline." As he spoke, Major Riscacco allowed him to draw a card, followed by the second, third, and fourth soldiers, ensuring everyone present had a turn. "Can anyone explain why this military discipline exists?" Major Riscacco continued dealing cards while asking. This time, the soldiers replied in unison. "Because it encourages everyone to rely on luck rather than their own abilities. What is our unwavering attitude in the face of fate? Tell me all." After finishing the card dealing, Major Riscacco shouted loudly to the crowd, "Discipline is strict, always ready, and be the masters of fate." After the statement, the soldiers unhesitatingly tore their playing cards into pieces, stuffed them into their mouths, and swallowed them. Seeing that Major Riscacco handled the situation well, Chang Wei nodded to him, and then turned his gaze to Rue Gu, whose nose was dripping with noodles. "Rue Gu, come with me. I have something to say to you." Upon hearing the highest commander of the fleet call his name, Rue Gu immediately put on a pained expression, while the other brothers looked at him with sympathetic eyes. After being called out, Chang Wei spoke earnestly to him, "Lieutenant Rue Gu, do you know what has happened to you?" Rue Gu nodded, seemingly understanding. "I know. I've become an Astartes space marine and am continuously getting stronger." Chang Wei shook his head. "No, you do not know. To tell you the truth, ever since you underwent the transformation surgery, you have not actually become an Astartes, but rather mutated into a Primarch." Primarch? What is that? You can understand it as surpassing a regular Astartes and being a unique existence. It is also key to forming a new Astartes legion. With a Primarch, we can use it as a model to create an entirely new Astartes legion. Rue Gu was taken aback and looked at Chang Wei. "General, do you mean?" Chang Wei replied seriously, "Lieutenant Rue Gu, from now on, you will be leaving the Hardbone Brigade. Your rank will be promoted to Brigadier General, and I will arrange for you to create an Astartes Legion with a strength of 10,000. Chapter 191, Level 5 Flagship, Huberian. After handling Rue Gu's situation, Chang Wei arrived at the armory. Upon arriving, he saw Swan explaining various maintenance and care knowledge to a group of feline and canine beings. When they saw Chang Wei arrive, everyone immediately stood up to pay their respects. Chang Wei politely returned the gesture and then asked Swan, "What is going on here?" Swan shrugged and replied, "During the year that our fleet has been away, the feline and canine beings have developed a stable and beneficial system. Their population, public safety, education, and production have all entered a fast lane. Therefore, we, the Luminary Fleet, have now officially begun to impart military and armament knowledge to them. These are the first batch of learners." Sure enough, over at the shooting range, there was also a group of cats and dogs learning about various weapons and operational training under the guidance of instructors. Chang Wei watched carefully and found it quite interesting and novel. He noticed that most of the learners related to military combat and weapon operation were large dogs and cats, such as Samoyeds, Golden Retrievers, Labradors, Alaskans, Maine Coons, Norwegian Forest Cats, Ragdolls, and Persians. In contrast, those studying technology, maintenance, and tactical training were mostly medium and small dogs and cats, like Pomeranians, Huskies, Schnauzers, Border Collies, Chihuahuas, Chinese rural dogs, Ragdolls, American Shorthairs, British Shorthairs, Scottish Folds, and Tabby cats. Particularly, when he saw a Tibetan Mastiff with a large knife at its waist, a bullet chain over its shoulder, and holding a Gatling gun. Chang Wei was stunned. This creature stood taller than him, and those powerful limbs could probably take down a bull. "Are you sure this isn't Sylvester Stallone?" Finally, Chang Wei took a look around, petted each of them, and offered words of encouragement, saying some nice things about studying hard, expressing his hope to fight alongside them in the future. The dogs and cats responded with enthusiasm, barking and meowing excitedly, creating a unique atmosphere. Before leaving the armory, Swan stopped Chang Wei, hands on his hips, wearing a proud expression as if waiting for compliments. "Kid, I've procured the technical blueprints for the Hurricane, Liberator, and Iron Crow from an old friend. You can start producing them now." Chang Wei's face darkened, and he couldn't help but mutter, "You sure have a lot of friends. Swan, when will you help me get the blueprints for the Sarnaga artifact? Then I'll consider you impressive." Swan scratched his head, looking thoughtful. "That is not impossible. I'll ask my old friend and get back to you next time." "Is your old friend named Zeratul or Kerrigan?" Hey, wait. Are you serious?" Chang Wei stared in shock at Swan's retreating figure, unsure of what to say. "Maybe this guy is the hidden big shot on the Hyperion? No. I need to ask Zhong Kai to sneak over and check Swan's SCV. It might just be our strongest melee unit. Once confirmed, his identity will definitely be solidified." Next, Chang Wei wandered into a bar. He ordered a cocktail and sat at the bar, taking a sip. The interstellar mercenaries around him raised their glasses in salute, loudly saying, "Hello, boss." Chang Wei smiled and raised his glass in response. Unfortunately, his status now made him the center of attention wherever he went. Stealing a glance at the bar's cramped space and outdated facilities, along with the two arcade machines in the corner, Chang Wei felt quite embarrassed. After all, this was supposed to be the flagship designated by the system at level 4 authority, yet it was over 1,000 meters in size and in need of repairs. It just didn't feel right. Therefore, Chang Wei planned to spend some mission points to completely refurbish and upgrade the Hyperion to a level 5 civilization warship. At that point, the idea of a single jump by the Lord would be out of the question. Look, the boss is about to go all out again. Shoo, keep it down. Don't let him hear, Chang Wei said quietly. Sitting at the bar, he sipped his cocktail while gesturing in the air as if selecting something invisible. Soon, he heard a system notification. Ding. The flagship Hyperion has been upgraded to a level 5 civilization warship, requiring 50,000 task points. Do you confirm? Ugh. That's a bit pricey, Chang Wei thought, but he could accept it. After clicking confirm, the entire Hyperion seemed to vibrate slightly, with walls, tables, chairs, corridors, lights, and instruments all appearing brand new. The internal space also became very spacious and bright. The crew received various related information, as if enlightened, suddenly understanding the new instruments and equipment. With their experience, they quickly realized what had happened and couldn't help but complain internally. However, due to rules, they had to pretend to be unaware and act as if they were in the dark about it. Chang Wei also noticed the differences in the Hyperion, so he immediately opened the system panel to check. Name: Hyperion, flagship, level 5 civilization warship, ship size, length 100 meters, width 530 meters, main areas, bridge, armory, bar, laboratory, etc. The internal space has been compressed, achieving an actual area of 233 square kilometers, with all items looking brand new. Its armor, firepower, and equipment have also been enhanced with 1. Multi-phase atomic rearrangement matrix. This can control rapid atomic reorganization to produce corresponding components and can also be used for quick self-repair of the ship, even if the ship explodes. As long as the matrix remains intact, it can automatically restore itself within 3 minutes and 47 seconds. 2. Spatial Axis Leap Device. The Hyperion will possess instant spatial leap technology across the universe, provided you have coordinates or signal guidance. 3. Anti-dimensional void force field. This can prevent sudden dimensional level attacks that would result in significant information loss. 4. Antimatter annihilation cannon. This replaces the Yamato cannon, possessing stronger physical properties and destructive power. 5. Spatial locking membrane. Once diffused, it prevents non-allied marked units from using leaps, escaping to higher dimensions, or opening hyperspace and subspace channels. 6. Additional cost required. What on earth is this additional cost? After upgrading the Hyperion, Chang Wei checked his balance and saw he still had 570,000 task points left. He planned to use these points to recruit hero units and warship slots. The painful memory of being choked by the Lord's force was still fresh in his mind. He didn't want to experience nearly being executed by an enemy again. It was time to fill the last gap in the Dawnbringer fleet. According to his communication with the system, hero units could not be recruited casually. They must be based on the warships he possessed. In other words, Chang Wei could not recruit hero units that were not part of the ship's crew. Currently, the recruitment list of hero units displayed by the system includes characters such as Raytheon and the true man Tychus Finley from the ship, Nova Terra the ghost operative from another vessel, Optimus Prime the leader of the Autobots from the Cybertronian Ark, Valerian Munsk from the Gorgon battlecruiser, and Rogel Dorn from the Imperial Fist of the 7th Legion. There's also the prototype mech Icarus from the Industrial Mothership and Darth Sidious from the Eclipse-class destroyer. What? That despot Sidious is also on the recruitment list? If we recruit him, won't we just end up beating him up again? Chang Wei felt a bit eager to try, but after some thought, he held back. The other party might just be a counterpart he had never met, perhaps even a reformed good comrade who advocates truth, goodness, and beauty, and it wasn't worth acting on impulse. Moreover, the system list only briefly described their identities and names without detailed explanations and introductions of these hero units. Therefore, Chang Wei couldn't determine their actual strength or character. He could only infer some general situations based on the original story. First of all, the strength of Sidious and Rogel Dorn was certainly recognized. Their prices were 12,000 and 10,000 respectively. Next was the prototype mech Icarus, which should be the one capable of traversing black holes unharmed. Its combat power was unknown, but its collection and construction capabilities were certainly strong, priced at 9,000. As for the remaining hero units, their prices were all under 1,000, likely indicating either they weren't that powerful or their abilities were focused on strategy, specialties, and leadership. Chang Wei found it difficult to make a decision at that moment, so he decided to postpone the matter. After all, there was preparation time for tasks, and he could first recruit ships and then see if there were other heroes available. Speaking of ships, he couldn't help but think of the destroyed lunar-class cruiser. Just like human life, once it perished, it could never return. Although he had already held a memorial service for it and its brothers and sisters aboard, he still felt a bit moved whenever he thought of it. Especially memorable was a particularly loyal military political officer aboard, as well as those combat nuns in high-slit skirts and white stockings, resembling flowers on the battlefield, breathtakingly beautiful. He wondered which order they belonged to, as the original lore of Warhammer 40k probably didn't feature such outfits. Sigh. Alas, death is like a light extinguished. There's no use in thinking too much about it. Hopefully, they won't be reborn into that cruel and despairing Warhammer universe. Subsequently, Chang Wei downed his cocktail in one go, as if paying tribute to a certain direction. It was a final farewell to the lost lives of the Lightbearers. He didn't linger in the bar, but instead crossed through a suddenly expansive cabin to reach the laboratory of the ship. Stedman, being one of the important scientists of the Lightbearer fleet, held an irreplaceable position and capability. Many research projects and analytical studies rely on his leadership to tackle challenges. Today, after just finishing a scientific video conference, he arrived here. Sir, you're here? Is there something you need? He smiled and replied, nothing much. Just recovering from a few days of being bedridden, so I thought I'd get some fresh air and take a look around. By the way, what were you discussing in the video conference? Stedman answered, I was having an academic exchange with several other scientists and engineers from different vessels. The discussion mainly revolved around concepts of superweapons and explorations of dimensional spaces. We've discovered that the cosmic rules seem to vary slightly across different worlds, coupled with local cultures, theories, and technological development perspectives. This leads to significant differences in how low-entropy bodies in various worlds and universes understand superweapons and dimensional spaces. For instance, the previous Star Wars world serves as a great example. They perceive hyperspace as a kind of corridor enabling rapid travel over long distances. In contrast, we view hyperspace as a special space situated in higher dimensions, transcending time and distance. By elevating oneself to a higher dimension and then returning to three-dimensional space, one can achieve instantaneous travel to any point in the universe, similar to the leap technology of conventional fifth-level civilization warships. This means a navigation technique that involves folding information into a higher dimension and then unfolding it back down. However, the hyperspace travel in the Star Wars world clearly does not align with our understanding of leaps. Its essence still belongs to the realm of superluminal transitions. Thus, based on this phenomenon, we initiated an academic discussion. His interest was piqued, and he asked Stedman, is there an academic discussion report? Yes, sir, Stedman replied. Please bring it to me. He took the document and began to browse through it immediately. Title: Understanding and Differences in Superweapons and Dimensional Spaces Across Different Worlds and Universes. Abstract. This report aims to explore the understanding and differences surrounding superweapons and dimensional spaces across various worlds and universes. By studying the scientific perspectives and cultural backgrounds of multiple worlds and universes, we have discovered different interpretations and explanations, which holds significant importance for our understanding of the universe's mysteries and the development of future technologies. This report will analyze and discuss from multiple angles, including theoretical physics, philosophy, cosmology, and science fiction. Introduction: Superweapons and dimensional spaces are topics of great interest in both science and science fiction. Given the varying cultural and scientific development levels across different worlds and universes, their understanding of these concepts also differs. Understanding and differences of superweapons. 1. From a physical perspective, in some worlds and universes, superweapons are understood as devices or technologies capable of releasing immense energy for warfare or protection purposes. These superweapons may be based on advanced technologies, such as antimatter weapons, black hole generators, or large laser concentration cannons. 2. From a philosophical perspective, in some worlds and universes, superweapons are seen as symbols of moral and ethical dilemmas. This understanding emphasizes the threat that superweapons pose to peace and justice, as well as the potential consequences and moral dilemmas associated with their use. Understanding of dimensional space varies. 1. From a physics perspective, dimensional space refers to the concept of dimensions beyond the three spatial dimensions. However, different worlds and universes may have varying interpretations. Some worlds might believe that only three spatial dimensions exist, while others may accept the existence of additional dimensions, such as those proposed in string theory's multiverse. 2. From a philosophical standpoint, dimensional space is viewed as a framework and method for understanding reality. Philosophers in different worlds and universes may have diverse interpretations of dimensional space, exploring it from mathematical abstractions to spiritual dimensions, such as the existence of heaven, hell, and the underworld. In conclusion, The differences in understanding superweapons and dimensional space across various worlds and universes reflect the diversity of their respective cultures and scientific developments. By studying these differences, we can better comprehend the diversity of the universe and the potential of future technologies. In future research, we need to explore these understandings and differences further, ensuring that we broaden our awareness of the universe while also preventing potential conflicts with incompatible cosmic rules. Incompatible cosmic rules? Could it really be possible? Indeed, anything can happen across countless realms. What if the fleet of Lightbringers enters a universe where technological regulations have decayed? Weapons formed under original scientific principles might end up useless. This is certainly an issue that must be taken seriously. Chapter 193, Spatial and Temporal Dimensions. After reading this academic discussion report, Chang Wei began to introspectively inquire about the system for verification. System: the fleet of Lightbringers traverses various realms to execute rescue missions. Do the cosmic rules differ between different universes? Furthermore, could such differences lead to the fleet facing restrictions imposed by other cosmic rules, potentially putting them in danger or even causing them to fail completely? In the next moment, a cold mechanical voice resonated in Chang Wei's mind. Partially correct. There are indeed different cosmic rules between various universes. This is due to the cosmic models established at the time of creation. A complete cosmic model requires a level 9 civilization to accomplish, while a level 7 civilization barely scratches the surface. Moreover, due to the differences in cosmic models and the level of creation techniques, various unique rules and astonishing loopholes may arise in different universes. There are also distinctions in the magnitude and quality of universes. Some universes may not be constructed based on a scientific materialistic worldview, which would naturally suppress or eliminate technological capabilities. However, the host need not worry, as this system will automatically filter rescue information. For completely mysterious universes, the system will not engage with them. All relevant rescue missions will only occur within universes that align with technological principles. Nevertheless, there will still be instances of slight variations in cosmic rules. However, due to the fundamental structure and establishment of the cosmic model, which connects various realms, significant changes do not stray from their origin. The host need not worry. As the highest commander of the fleet, Chang Wei has undergone extensive scientific training and is not a novice. Upon hearing the system's explanation, he immediately grasped the key point. The fundamental structure and establishment of the cosmic model connect various realms? Does this explain why our own universe and the other universes we visit are perceived in three-dimensional space, rather than 2, 4, or 5 dimensions? And why does time only have one dimension, without higher dimensional time phenomena? The system fell silent for a moment, seemingly confirming Chang Wei's authorization level. However, it quickly passed the authorization check and began to respond to Chang Wei's question. In the several universes the host has experienced, there are, from a macro perspective, no higher dimensions. This indeed relates to the fundamental structure and establishment of the cosmic model connecting various realms. It is based on a broader conceptual principle, referred to as the Great Principle. Due to lower degrees of freedom, forming complex material structures is difficult. For example, 0 dimensions represent a point particle, which is a state of a fundamental particle. In 1 dimension, it would be a straight line, preventing electrons from forming orbits. Thus atoms cannot exist. Although 2 dimensions can form atoms, it is too simplistic. The lack of many quantum states for outer shell electrons limits the number of electrons that can be accommodated outside the nucleus, making it impossible to form many elements in the periodic table. Furthermore, if there are only 2 spatial dimensions, the resulting atoms cannot form more complex molecules, leading to a world that is too simplistic and incapable of sustaining life. Naturally, there would be no possibility for advancement to higher levels. Curiously, Chang Wei asked, so? If that's the case, wouldn't a universe with more dimensions be better? The system once again delivered a cold, mechanical reply. Negative. While more degrees of freedom can create more complex geometric structures, making the world appear more fantastical and colorful, additional dimensions can lead to structural instability. Just like a high-precision machine, the more internal parts it has, the more likely it is to malfunction. Basic particles can form atoms, atoms can form molecules, and molecules form macroscopic matter, all influenced by fundamental forces such as electromagnetic force and gravity. However, extra dimensions can cause these forces to severely weaken. Scientific simulations and practical observations indicate that if a universe has an additional macroscopic dimension when the distance from a planet to a star doubles, the gravitational force on the planet would diminish by 8 times. Such a universe could not possibly form large material structures like galaxies or galaxy clusters. Moreover, this would make planetary orbits extremely sensitive to distance. Even slight fluctuations could either send them flying out of the galaxy or spiraling into the star. Therefore, such a high-dimensional universe is actually less reasonable than a 3-dimensional universe, and it would be impossible to sustain the long evolutionary process of life. Chang Wei expressed his confusion. Isn't there a theory of superstrings? In superstring theory, to increase the oscillation modes of strings, it is required that the universe has 9 spatial dimensions. So where are the remaining 6 dimensions? The system continued. The conclusion is correct. Indeed, there are 6 other dimensions. However, they are generally not easily observable on a macroscopic scale. After the pastoral era at the beginning of the universe, these 6 dimensions would be continuously compacted to a very small scale. Many advanced civilizations in the universe could not accept the constant decline of this information, leading to rampant destruction and mutual slaughter, accelerating this process. Over time, an extremely dark and selfish cosmic social environment was formed. Chang Wei's pupils widened in shock, exclaiming, "The dark forest." The system ignored Chang Wei's exclamation and continued. Therefore, in a relatively stable universe, the life forms that the host sees and interacts with exist within a 3-dimensional space. Then why is time only 1-dimensional? Because if it were 0-dimensional, there would be no time and nothing would change. If it were 2-dimensional, it would lead to a closed time loop, also known as the time-space paradox. Only one dimension can ensure the unidirectional flow of time, guaranteeing that causal relationships are not disrupted, forming a logical universe. Thus, under the great rules, all cosmic time and space in the myriad worlds must consist of exactly 3 spatial dimensions and 1 time dimension to form a stable universe, allowing for the emergence of life and the process of evolution. After listening, Chang Wei took a deep breath and then meaningfully probed the system. Is this knowledge collected and organized from the intelligence network established by your lineage across the myriad worlds? What exactly is your purpose? The system was silent for a moment and only replied, "Host's authority is insufficient." Chapter 194. The boy becomes a man, and the new rescue mission. Chang Wei had a good impression of this system. At least it would answer whatever you asked. As long as the authority was sufficient, it would tell you everything you wanted to know. Unlike some novels where the system either deceives you into spending points or task credits for information, or is overly humanized, personalized, tsundere, and engages in clever battles to add drama. If that were the case, it would really be frustrating. Besides studying various books and managing the fleet, one would also have to find time each day to figure out how to please the system. Just thinking about it feels like a drain on intelligence. Just as Chang Wei returned the academic discussion report to Steidman, his communication terminal rang. Upon checking, the caller was Zhong Kai. "Hey, why haven't you shown up yet? Did you get lost while wandering around? I've been sitting here in this box and almost finished all the fruit." "Oh crap, I almost forgot about that." Chang Wei quickly replied. All right. I just finished dealing with something important. I'll be there right away. Wait for me." Steidman looked at Chang Wei and asked, "Sir, do you have something important going on?" Chang Wei chuckled. "That kid Zhong Kai is treating, saying it's to celebrate the victory of this rescue mission. Preparing to throw a party." "A party, huh? I see. I'm here to tell you that today, the boss is treating us. When he arrives, you all should get close and have a great time. Be proactive. He's quite naive and doesn't understand much, so you need to teach him well. Got it?" "Understood, Kai." Immediately, a chorus of cheerful responses filled the room. As they say, when you mention someone, they show up. The door to the private room swung open, and the boss walked in, looking bewildered. This place is extravagantly luxurious. The floor is made of gold bricks, and the walls are adorned with jewels, agate, and jade. If it weren't for the guidance, I would think I came to the wrong place. Kai saw the boss at the entrance and shouted loudly with a big laugh, Quick, let my boss in." Instantly, a group of beautiful ladies dressed in maid and sailor outfits rushed over, helping the boss onto the soft sofa. With the lively music, flashing neon lights, and the sight of alluring figures, the boss felt overwhelmed. As a guy who has only watched anime and never been in a relationship, he had never seen such a scene before. His hormones skyrocketed. At that moment, all work-related stress and worries vanished. Kai, with one arm around a pair of lovely twin sisters, was munching on grapes they fed him while grinning at the boss. "How is it, brother? This place is pretty nice, right? I found this legitimate venue with great difficulty." The boss was thoroughly enjoying himself. It was the first time he experienced being surrounded and entangled by beautiful women. "Kai, I suddenly feel that recruiting for this luxurious cruise ship seems like a great idea. This venue is truly charming and exquisite." "Ha, I think so too. Since that's the case, let's enjoy ourselves today and not think too much. Just relax." After saying that, Kai became bolder in his actions. He had wanted to do this for a long time because rescue missions are accompanied by risks, and he didn't want to die a virgin. When he learned that there were entertainment options on the cruise, he planned to drag the boss along to avoid any regrets in life. At this moment, the ladies were getting closer, their pretty faces gazing into the boss's eyes, making his heart race. "Handsome, do you know martial arts? How good are you at it? I want to see." The voice was sweet and filled with temptation. Whispering in his ear, blushing and shy, he stammered, "I don't know martial arts. I really don't." The ladies didn't believe him and surrounded him. beginning to playfully demonstrate martial arts. Hey, let us talk it out. Spare the second brother. Text omitted for brevity. A day later, the boss slowly woke up in a luxurious private room. Two pairs of arms as white as jade were draped around his neck, leaving him in a state of shock. Looking around, he discovered a cat girl and a fox girl sleeping beside him. His mind went blank for a moment before he recalled the wild night they had. Damn, I haven't even been in a relationship yet, and here I am. First, second, seventh times just like that? Sigh. But it was definitely enjoyable at the time. Like a thief, he quietly pulled back the covers, careful not to wake the beauties next to him. He then got up, put on his pants, rolled up the remaining clothes, and wrote his personal contact number on the nightstand before sneaking out of the room. After all, it was his first time doing something like this, and feeling anxious and nervous was inevitable. If the girls wanted him to take responsibility, he wouldn't complain. As the door gently closed behind him, the two beauties, who had been sound asleep, immediately opened their eyes and burst into melodious laughter. Chong Wei. You said you couldn't fight? Since becoming a man, Chong Wei's previously gloomy mood had noticeably improved. Over the next month, he handled various matters within the fleet with ease and became increasingly mature and composed. Even his overall demeanor underwent a tremendous change. As for the two girls, they hadn't sought him out or contacted him, which left him feeling a bit regretful and guilty. However, as the fleet's highest commander, he couldn't allow himself to dwell on romantic entanglements. So he treated that wild night as a beautiful encounter in memory. Fast forward to the present. Today marks the official establishment of the Cat and Dog Furry First Legion, which will accompany the Light Chaser fleet into other universes for rescue missions. As an important representative and the highest leader of the Light Chaser fleet, Chong Wei naturally attended the grand parade ceremony. After shaking hands with representatives from the three parties, they took their seats on the podium to await the formation's entrance. At that moment, Chong Wei suddenly received a notification sound from the system in his mind. Ding! A rescue signal has been detected with the following content. Soon, the cold mechanical voice of the system was replaced by a bold, roaring male voice. The Wall of Maria. Final reclamation battle. Combat begins. Even if it costs our lives, we will bring back news of victory. Survey Corps advance. 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 Heart and soul, let's go. Chapter 195. A daunting task rescue mission being generated. Mission World. Attack on Titan. Warning. A large number of rescue signals detected in this universe. Simultaneously, mirror galaxies have been discovered. Scan results. The Matrix, World War Z, 2012, Terminator, Pacific Rim, Edge of Tomorrow, Interstellar, Planet of the Apes, The Martian, Independence Day, Call of Duty 13, Infinite Warfare, I Am Legend, Doomsday, Cabannery of the Iron Fortress, etc. Warning. The system detected unknown interference. To avoid being traced, scanning has been halted according to the system's 23rd emergency order. Conclusion. This universe shows clear signs of artificial modification, and major mirror galaxies exhibit time loops. It is inferred that this universe may be a large breeding ground created by some existence or force, with humanity confined in various scripts, endlessly cycling, ultimately reduced to livestock. Warning. There are unknown dangers in this universe. The host should proceed with caution. The rescue mission is being modified. Mission objective. To break the time loops in various scripts as discreetly as possible, thereby erasing their temporal and spatial marks. Then, before being discovered and eliminated by the Master, quickly relocate the surviving humans of this universe to save them from their tragic fate. Mission details. The system will grant special permissions to open a teleportation channel for the survivors whose temporal marks are erased, allowing them to leave. Rescue as many as possible before the situation is revealed. The host should be aware that this universe may have a self-detection mechanism, so unless absolutely necessary, large-scale military interventions should be avoided to prevent significant bugs outside the scripts that could attract attention. It is recommended to conduct special operations in the form of small bugs. Mission rewards. Based on the number of successful rescues, it will be determined at the end. Mission countdown. 95 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Initially, when Chong Wei heard that the next world was Attack on Titan, he began to chuckle inwardly, thinking it would be an easy victory. He couldn't help but imagine the scene of the Thor from StarCraft and the Titans from Warhammer 40k, teaching the giants a lesson. Some even imagined fleets entering, blocking out the sun, and bombarding the ground with overwhelming force. However, the system's next words abruptly halted his amusement. What? Mirror galaxies? A large breeding ground created by unknown existences or forces. Humanity imprisoned in various scripts, endlessly looping, completely reduced to livestock? Chong Wei was utterly astonished. Those who didn't know would think he was mesmerized by the impressive display of armored infantry formations of cats and dogs marching into the parade square. Attention! Salute to the podium. Wow! Clap, clap, clap. Long live the luminaries. Long live General Chong Wei. Long live the friendship of cats and dogs. Accompanied by loud shouts and the synchronized sound of marching steps, the atmosphere was indeed magnificent, earning applause from the audience. Dear General Chong Wei, as you can see, this is our first mixed armored infantry brigade. Not bad, right? Very good, very good. Chong Wei replied politely with a smile. The subsequent parade ceremony was also spectacular, showcasing various heavy firepower and Air Force units. However, Chong Wei's mind had already soared far beyond. System, what do those things you mention actually mean? Why does such a universe exist among the myriad realms? What is the purpose of that unknown existence or force in doing this? And why specifically imprison humanity to loop through scripts? The system was silent for a moment before replying coldly and mechanically. The myriad realms are actually more complex and darker than you, the host, can imagine. But your permissions are insufficient, and you are not authorized to inquire about related matters. Please strive to enhance your strength and permission level. Chong Wei understood the rules. Whatever the system could tell him, it would naturally share. Anything it could not disclose would be futile to pursue, no matter how much he protested. It wasn't until the successful conclusion of the parade ceremony for the Cat and Dog Fury 1st Legion that Chong Wei began preparations for the next rescue mission. The first order was for the Luminary Fleet to immediately enter a Level 2 combat readiness state. All crew members on leave were to return to their posts. Communication was to be ensured, thorough checks for potential faults were to be conducted, troops were to be gathered, combat supplies distributed, and logistics and equipment support were to be promptly implemented. Weapons and equipment were to be urgently repaired, preparations for emergency expansion were to be completed, and the personnel were to be fully equipped as per wartime standards. Operational plans were to be adjusted and revised, and urgent training was to be prioritized. The second order was to include the Cat and Dog Fury 1st Legion in the rescue operations and to participate in the Tactical Command Formulation meeting. This legion comprised 4 Torren-class battle cruisers, a squadron of Viking fighters, a squadron of Liberator gunboats, and 6 mixed armored infantry brigades, totaling 30,000 personnel. Additionally, there was a special operations team of 20 Titan mechs led by Major Joel, a tabby cat. This team had members with parkour experience from scaling buildings in Harlan City, making them natural pilots and extremely elite. The third order was for all ship captains and commanders to gather for a meeting to discuss and formulate a specific rescue plan. Under the issuance of these commands, the Luminary Fleet immediately entered a state of readiness and began to get busy. Chong Wei also delivered a brief speech to the entire fleet to inspire morale. Luminaries, we are about to face a daunting task. Our objective is to venture into an extremely complex universe to carry out a rescue operation and save those imprisoned by the cage of fate. The success of this mission will depend on the efforts and contributions of each and every one of us luminaries. That universe is undoubtedly a place filled with danger, and we must be particularly cautious. We need to break the constraints of the time loop and may encounter various unknown dangers. Thus, we must prepare thoroughly and act as discreetly or covertly as possible to avoid exposing our presence and operational plans. During the execution of the rescue operation, we must adhere to strict discipline and directives to ensure that every action is orderly, stable, and efficient. Our goal is to dismantle the time loop of the script and rescue the survivors. This is an extremely important mission that requires the wisdom and courage of every luminary. I believe that each of our luminaries is an excellent warrior and can perform at their best in this universe. We need to unite, help each other, support one another, and accomplish this mission together. Our responsibility is immense, but we are also confident and capable of fulfilling this glorious mission. Finally, I would like to express my sincere respect and gratitude to every light bearer. You are the pride of this fleet, the hope and dawn in the eyes of those being rescued. Let us work together for the success of the rescue operation. Thank you all. After finishing the speech, Chong Wei opened the system panel and began to purchase battleship slots, spending mission points. Chapter 196, System Level 5 Permissions Ding. The 21st battleship slot has been unlocked, consuming 40,000 mission points. Ding. The 22nd battleship slot has been unlocked, consuming 42,000 mission points. Ding. The 23rd battleship slot has been unlocked, consuming 44,000 mission points. Ding. The 30th battleship slot has been unlocked, consuming 58,000 mission points. Chong Wei unlocked 10 battleship slots in one go, spending a total of 490,000 mission points. That's quite extravagant. Now, there are 80,000 mission points left, which he plans to save for recruiting hero units later. He wondered if the number of battleships would increase to 30. Would that elevate him to System Level 5 permissions? Anyway, let's wait and see. Since the Light Bearers fleet has already activated the Legion function, Level 4 civilization battleships can be completely replaced by a large number of Minotaur-class battlecruisers. It would be a bit counterproductive to waste a precious battleship slot for that. Chang Wei intends to randomly recruit 10 level 5 civilization battleships at once. With any luck, there should be at least one decent ship, right? It should be better than level 4 civilization ships, shouldn't it? Moreover, the level 5 civilization universe broadcast information interference ship, the Xianghao, Xianyang, and the large immigrant tourism ship, the Enghao, Titanic, which he previously obtained, turned out to be not as terrible as expected. Especially the entertainment on the Titanic, cough cough, I digress. In any case, recruiting level 5 civilization battleships is bound to be worthwhile. With that in mind, Chang Wei began to issue orders to the system, including the newly unlocked 10 battleship slots and the slots that became vacant after the loss of the Moon-class cruiser. A total of 11 slots. Start the random recruitment of level 5 civilization battleships. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. Before long, the data for 11 level 5 civilization battleships appeared one by one. Name, S-class Shadow Battleship. Level 5 civilization battleship. Designer, Chinibu Shark. Hull data, diameter 12 kilometers. Ring-shaped hull width 8 kilometers. Overall flat ring shape. Firepower configuration. 200 disappearing light high-output antimatter missile launchers. 20,000 Mammoth dark matter secondary cannons. Terminator dimensional collapse cannon. Main gun. 200 packaging space compression cannons. One-dimensional switcher. Power system. 1000 dark energy engines. One space jump engine. Operations system. Particle superbrain. Quantum weak artificial intelligence. Armor material. Void gold. Dissipating 90 of energy attacks. Crew. 1000 shadows. Can self-dimensionalize. 10,000 AI experts. Manufacturer. Tianyin Biological Evolution Company Manufacturing Department. Name. Experimental Base Ship Number 001. Level 5 Civilization Warship. Designer. Shirkong Piaoxua. Introduction. This experimental base ship was constructed after discussions among the strategic armed research vessels Huanhai, Yunhai, Jinghai, and Shanghai of the Tactical Great Wall class. It features an onboard dock for parking tactical vessels. Energy supply. Utilizes space compression technology to contain a blue giant star inside. Weapons. Antimatter annihilation cannon. Prototype dimensional reduction weapon. Two-dimensional foil. Prototype dimensional elevation weapon. Three-dimensional brick. Protective device. Experimental space barrier. Crew. 1 million biological clones. Name. Void-class battleship Yanlong. Level 5 civilization warship. Designer. Truth 1 Future. Length. 30,000 meters. Height. 6,800 meters. Width. 11,980 meters. Energy. Void furnace. Engine. Void jump engine. Void stabilizer. Void array engine. Void channel engine. Armor material. Void steel. Dissipating 90 of kinetic damage. Additional equipment. Gravitational beam. Stellar level. Planetary transformation beam. Quantum pulse beam. For exterminating biological targets. Void cloaking device. Black hole bomb prototype. 5. Gravitational collapse cannon. Weapons. Void annihilation cannon. 6. Void particle cannon. 28. Void beam cannon. 100. Self-destruction device. Capable of generating a void material sphere the size of a galaxy. Used to consume everything around it. Void tactical jump landing pods. 20,000. Individual combat unit. Lingshu mechanical forces can be deployed in one go, including 2,000 void tactical mechs. Then, there are a total of 11 heavily armed warships like ABCD. It felt as if luck was on his side, leaving Chang Wei feeling inexplicably amazed. There were too many submitted warships from readers, and here are 3 mainly to express that the author did not ignore your submissions. However, writing lengthy descriptions was too verbose, with fewer warships at the beginning. It can be written this way, but as more warships appear later, such content should be minimized to focus on the main storyline to avoid affecting the overall experience. I hope for your understanding. Before Chang Wei could finish reading all the warship data, a mechanical prompt from the system echoed in his mind. Ding. Detected that the host fleet has reached a scale of 30 ships. System permissions upgraded to level 5. Level 5 system permissions provide 120 hours of mission preparation time. The host will receive body enhancement and brain domain development to better command the fleet for rescue missions. At the same time, Level 5 civilization technology data and commodities will be unlocked, available for purchase in the system's military supplies and trading mall. Chang Wei was taken aback, suddenly realizing that his body and brain felt different. It was as if his body had become particularly light, and his brain exceptionally clear. The speed of his thoughts also became remarkably swift. Wow, am I turning into a superhuman? As soon as this thought crossed his mind, the system quickly doused him with cold water. Denied. The host's current physical quality has only undergone a simple genetic enhancement by the system. The physical activity and mental speed have merely reached twice that of ordinary interstellar humans. If one wishes to continue safe and effective enhancement, they should upgrade the corresponding technologies. The implication here is to inform Chang Wei that the modification surgeries from the Mechanicus and the genetic alterations from the Endless are both immature and unsafe. If he wants to enhance his body further, he should honestly purchase the corresponding technologies or products from the system mall. The poor rely on mutations, while the rich depend on technology. The former is gambling with their lives. Without the protagonist's halo, how many can achieve perfect mutations under such slim odds? The latter is safe and stable, with almost no risks involved. Chang Wei immediately grasped the deeper meaning of the system's words, indicating that he could now reach superhuman levels through technological means. However, he was not in a hurry and knew that he was not cut out for this. Besides, if it came to a point where he, the fleet's top commander, had to engage in close combat, it would mean the fleet was on the brink of destruction. Therefore, the original plan remained unchanged. The remaining task points would still be used to recruit hero units. Come forth, Jean Pre-March Rogal Dorn of the Imperial Fists. Come forth, Sith Lord Emperor Sheev Palpatine. Chapter 197, Rogal Dorn and Palpatine Boom. Two white beams of light descended from the void, instantly forming two powerful presences. At the same time, a pair of indistinct figures slowly emerged from the light columns. Torgal immediately revealed himself from his invisible state. Although he knew that the recruited hero units would not harm the system host, the strong aura instinctively made him protect Chang Wei behind him. Soon, Chang Wei clearly saw the two familiar figures, and information about them unconsciously flashed in his mind. Rogal Dorn, the Unyielding. In Warhammer 40k, he is the Jean Pre-March of the Imperial Fists, one of the 9 loyalist Primarchs. Rogal Dorn is known for his integrity and seriousness, but his straightforward personality often puts others in awkward positions, leading to conflicts with nearly half of the Primarchs and strained relationships, particularly with Perturabo of the Iron Warriors. Rogal Dorn has absolute loyalty to the Emperor and cannot tolerate any disloyalty towards him, even the slightest thought. This has led to numerous arguments with others and conflicts with Conrad Kurz of the Night Lords. Rogal Dorn's upbringing is unremarkable, as he seldom speaks of it. After being captured by the Chaos Gods, he was abandoned on the ice planet of Inwit, due to the gravitational pull of the system star. Inwit experiences eternal night on one side and eternal day on the other, creating harsh conditions. This environment forged the Inwit people into strong, stoic, and self-sacrificing individuals. And Rogal Dorn was no exception. As a child, Rogal Dorn was adopted by the elder of the local Dorn family, who taught him much about survival and tactics. Like a grandfather, even after learning that he was not blood-related to the elder, Rogal Dorn continued to hold him in high regard. Later, Rogal Dorn not only became the leader of his family, but also the ruler of the planet and surrounding star systems, governing the entire Inwit star system. The presence of the battleship stationed in the orbit of Inwit piqued Rogal Dorn's immense curiosity. Thus, he spent many years trying to reactivate the ship. When the Imperial fleet arrived at Inwit, Rogal Dorn welcomed the Emperor aboard the battleship, pledged his loyalty, and offered the ship to the Emperor. The Emperor entrusted the 7th Legion to Rogal Dorn and returned the battleship to him. As a result, the ship became the fortress monastery of the Imperial Fists, essentially serving as a space stronghold. During the Great Crusade, Rogal Dorn demonstrated exceptional military talent while commanding the 7th Legion. When the Emperor returned to Terra for significant construction projects, Rogal Dorn accompanied him back to Terra. Due to his outstanding skills in fortress construction, the Emperor entrusted him with the important task of building the defense system for the Imperial Palace. After the Eleanor campaign, Rogal Dorn and the entire Imperial Fist Legion were recalled to Terra to defend the capital and protect the Emperor as he executed his secret plans. Following the Horus Heresy, after the Emperor fell and took his place on the Golden Throne, Rogal Dorn was heartbroken, believing that the Emperor's near death was his fault. He led his legion on a penitent campaign across the Empire. However, this path to redemption was, in essence, one of suffering and self-sacrifice. Ultimately, Rogal Dorn went missing after attacking a Chaos fleet that greatly outnumbered his forces, and it is presumed he died. Others only knew that he disappeared after leading his soldiers in a desperate assault on the bridge of a Reaver-class battleship, leaving behind only one of his hands. This hand has since been humorously referred to by many players as Rogal Dorn, leaving a hand behind. In any case, Rogal Dorn is labeled with titles such as the Terra Custodian, Blade of the Emperor, Lord of the Fortress, Master of Inwit, the 7th Pre-March, the galaxy's foremost defensive master, the Lord of Boring Monologues, the Cute One, and the Indomitable. He and his Imperial Fists are renowned for their infinite layers of armor, fortress-like tactics, and ultra-high-density expeditions. On the other hand, there is Emperor Palpatine from the Star Wars universe, who has just experienced events in that world, so I won't repeat those details here. Welcome. Welcome to the Fleet of the Lightbringer. I am the Supreme Commander of the Fleet of the Lightbringer, General Chang Wei. Rogal Dorn, towering over 3 meters tall, clad in imposing armor, replied with a serious demeanor, "I am Rogel Dorn, here to assist in battle on the Emperor's orders." Before Chang Wei could speak, a figure in a black robe with a sinister expression, Palpatine, laughed first. "Ha ha ha, what a coincidence. I, the Sith Lord, Sheev Palpatine, also happen to be an Imperial Emperor." Rogel Dorn's expression suddenly turned cold as he glared at Palpatine, angrily retorting, You dare call yourself an emperor?" Palpatine's gaze also hardened as he silently drew a flashlight from his belt, casting a provocative smile. "Do you wish to feel the sharpness of my lightsaber?" Rogel Dorn suddenly slammed his hand on the table, drawing his storm's tooth and pointing it at Palpatine, saying, "My sword is not without its advantages." Seeing the tense atmosphere, Chang Wei scratched the back of his head, feeling a bit of a headache. They're all troubled youths. "Kid, you have no idea what the power of the dark side really is. Let me show you today," he exclaimed. "False Emperor, you have defiled the title of Emperor. Prepare to die." Just as the two were about to clash, Chang Wei shouted to stop them. "All right, enough." Bang. Perhaps it was Chang Wei's authority as the system host, or some kind of rule in place. Upon hearing his shout, the two who had their weapons drawn stepped back simultaneously and slowly lowered their weapons. Palpatine looked at Rogel Dorn, a sinister smile on his face, and said, "You've bought yourself a life." Rogel Dorn retorted, "Next time, I'll aim for your head, defiler." Seeing this, Chang Wei quickly raised his voice. "Let's keep it down. I respect your beliefs and cultures, but since you are in the fleet of the Lightbringers, you must adhere to our discipline and style. First, I want to emphasize unity. Then it's still unity, and finally, it's unity again. Our enemies are not ourselves, but those who obstruct our rescue operations. Anyone who stabs us in the back or deliberately slows us down will find me ruthless." As he spoke, the spear of dimensions flew out from his pants and swirled around him, exuding an impressive aura. "Do you all understand? Especially you, Palpatine. You dare call yourself an emperor here? That is over. Pay attention. In the fleet of the Lightbringers, while there are differences in rank, there is no distinction in character. Put away your old ways. From now on, understand your identity. We are the Lightbringers." The two exchanged glances, both tacitly accepting the situation. As for what they truly thought, Chang Wei had no idea. Anyway, they clearly had conflicting temperaments, so it was best to keep them apart. Otherwise, banter and fights would be inevitable. "Rogel Dorn, temporarily return to your mountain array and lead your squad. Palpatine, stay close to me for now. I have some questions for you." Chapter 198. Technology changes the world. Palpatine. "Do you know me? I mean, before I recruited you to come here." Palpatine was born into a noble family on Naboo and was raised with excellent social etiquette. Having served as the Supreme Chancellor and Emperor, his manner of speaking and demeanor were impeccable. He slightly bowed, appearing very polite. "Esteemed General, I do not know you, but I have a feeling that we seem to get along well. Perhaps we will develop a good friendship." "Wow, are you laughing or crying? Your pale, wrinkled face, combined with the slight curve of your mouth, looks incredibly terrifying and sinister, like you're playing the role of a cunning villain." The saying goes, one should not strike a smiling person, even if that smile is unappealing, no matter what kind of person you were before. Arriving at the Lightbearer fleet marks a new beginning for you. You will become one of us. For now, stay by my side and serve as my aide. Your foresight will be valuable in warning us of potential crises, helping me anticipate dangers." Palpatine nodded slightly, continuing to smile respectfully. "Yes, I understand, General." Perhaps due to ingrained impressions, although Palpatine appeared very respectful, Chang Wei couldn't shake the feeling that he was secretly plotting something, waiting for an opportunity to undermine him and seize command of the fleet. However, thinking about it, that seemed impossible. Maybe it was just a bad habit he developed while playing the villain. Such a cold aura could be addressed in time. If necessary, he could call in a few political officers to read him the rules and thoroughly transform him into a good comrade. Chang Wei glanced at his task point balance, which stood at 58,000, with 14 hours remaining until the task began. He had two choices. One was to keep the points for emergencies, like accelerating the manufacturing and repair speeds of warships and buildings during rescue operations. The second was to check the system marketplace and military supply depot for any technology or products worth purchasing among the unlocked level 5 civilization technologies. After some thought, he decided to look for something that could help him survive, given his physical vulnerabilities. As he browsed, he found something interesting. Name, Nanocore. Description, a maintenance-type home medical bionic mechanical cluster produced through microtechnology. The dosage for an adult is 1,000 milliliters, with each cluster individual being 1/60th the size of a hair. Once injected into the body, it can rapidly repair various cell damages. Even in the case of severe head trauma, it can retrieve all spilled blood and brain tissue within seconds and reassemble it according to genetic memory, stitching it back together as it was. Additionally, when given the relevant commands, it can also repair damaged telomerase, making it thicker, longer, and more durable. ultimately achieving a state of semi-immortality for the organism. Technology price, 5,000 task points. Product price, 1,000 task points. Wow, what an incredible item. Such a monstrous recovery ability. Could this make one like Wolverine? Plus, could it help regrow his lost right eye and hand? Chong Wei didn't rush to exchange for the product, but chose to redeem the technology instead, handing it over to Stidman for production. Stidman replied that the first batch of products would be ready in 6 hours. Chong Wei nodded in acknowledgement and continued to browse other technologies. Name, Custom S-Mobility Ball. Introduction. By adopting dimensional membrane technology, individuals can be elevated to a higher dimension, allowing for small-scale shifts and jumps within that dimension. This even enables them to enter higher dimensions to evade attacks from lower dimensions. The duration is 5 minutes, with an interval of 3 seconds. Technology price, 10,000 task points. Finished product price, 4,000 task points. Wow, isn't this just like the Kimui technique from a certain popular anime? It's akin to simultaneously gaining the abilities of phasing and spatial teleportation. Oh my, indeed. Once technology reaches a certain level, those fantastical abilities can also be achieved through scientific means. Chong Wei didn't want to waste points, so he did not consider the finished product, opting instead to exchange directly for the technology. After this operation, he still had 43,000 task points left. It felt just like shopping during a big sale, where one just wants to add everything to the cart without stopping. But in the end, Chong Wei managed to restrain himself. If task points are likened to military funding, then this funding was being spent far too quickly. Purchasing battleship slots, recruiting hero units, buying technology, and accelerating repairs and production all seemed to require funds. If only I could get 100 million task points for signing in, Chong Wei couldn't help but sigh. Ever since that day he met the Jedi Knights upon their return, the system had not sent any daily sign-in notifications. When he inquired whether there was a bug, the system replied that it had already been given, and the final interpretation rights belonged to the system. Look at that. Isn't this just a one-sided clause? If you can't play, then don't. Chong Wei was utterly speechless. It felt as if someone had snatched away his task points, leaving him particularly uncomfortable. But forget it. Even without the 200 task points from daily sign-ins, he could still earn a large amount of military funding through completing task rewards. The current task was about to start, and preparations were nearly completed, so he needed to take a moment to rest, to avoid yawning on the ship like during the first rescue mission. Time quickly passed, and 6 hours later, after brushing his teeth and washing up, Chong Wei went to the laboratory with a fresh mindset. Stidman, is this the nanocore? Chong Wei curiously asked, looking at the silver-white test tube in his hand. That's right, sir. Due to time constraints, we only managed to produce 2. The other one was injected into a volunteer marine to observe the actual effects. After all, this is for your use, and we must not be careless, Stidman replied. Chong Wei nodded in acknowledgement. So, how is the effect? Stidman adjusted his glasses and smiled, pointing to the glass observation window behind him. Sir, you should come and see for yourself. It will be much more impressive. Chong Wei followed his direction and saw a muscular man with his upper body bare undergoing impact resistance testing. Various knives and axes struck his bare body, continuously tearing huge wounds. But in the next second, silver light flickered over his wounds, quickly stitching them up and healing as if nothing had happened. The next moment, bullets pierced flesh, causing the man's body to explode into a mass of meat. However, blood began to flow back, and eventually, the bullets were expelled from his body, clattering to the ground. Following that was an explosion test. The muscular man calmly held a high-explosive grenade, quietly waiting for it to detonate. Then, with a loud boom, his body shattered into a mixture of bones and flesh, dead beyond any doubt. But then, something miraculous happened. The shattered bones and flesh seemed to come alive, like a swarm of tiny clusters, automatically floating back and gradually reassembling into a skeleton, followed by blood vessels and nerves, and then muscles and skin. Before long, a completely intact muscular man stood back in place, naked and as good as new. The onlooker was stunned. This effect was simply more impressive than anything seen before. Enough said. Quickly, give me a shot too. 8 hours later, the onlooker felt reborn, gripping his newly grown right hand and taking a deep breath. Indeed, technology changes the world. Technology changes life. Subsequently, he sat in the command chair, adjusted his cap, and ordered the entire army, light chaser fleet, depart. As the countdown for the mission ended, a flash of white light appeared. A new round of rescue missions began. Chapter 199, The Boy Seeking Freedom. If, one day, you find yourself trapped in a vast cycle of time, reincarnating every time you die while retaining all past memories, and continuing to experience countless lives in this cycle, what kind of existence will you ultimately become? I don't know when I started to have this ability. I only know that the first life I remember was like this. To earn money early, I chose to drop out of school and work. By middle age, I was still nothing, toiling for daily meals, working until the last moment for family and responsibility, and then, with a coffin lid closing, ended my life. In the second life, having the memories of my previous life, I understood the importance of knowledge. I was hailed as a child prodigy from a young age, learning many advanced concepts. Growing up, I leaped into a higher class, no longer worrying too much about material needs. Marrying a beautiful wife I couldn't have in my previous life, and experiencing many things I missed before. My horizons expanded significantly. I no longer wanted to live as helpless and wronged as in my previous life, not understanding the purpose of my existence until death. I began to enjoy being self-centered, no longer valuing family. After all, I had experienced everything, and emotions had become transparent to me. I became very selfish, and ultimately, my family fell apart. But with 2 lives behind me, my cunning was unmatched. Hence, my later years were not miserable, as I paid great attention to health. I lived a long time before aging. In the third life, I had understood my situation. I was trapped in some strange cycle, estimating that even if I died in this life, I would likely come back in the next. I acted without any reservations, viewing everyone as mere children, as bothersome little siblings. I began to disregard all morals and truths in the world. Because I knew that nothing could restrain me anymore, I started to commit crimes, doing many things I had never dared to do before. Perhaps only this could stimulate my aging soul. In the end, I was arrested and hanged at a young age. In my fourth life, I was the same, believing that my previous life was merely due to bad luck. Therefore, in this life, I became even crazier and more secretive. I hid for a long time before being caught, and on the day of my sentencing, I laughed, laughing wildly. Countless people around me scorned me, calling me a natural-born villain, a demon in human skin. By my seventh life, I had grown tired of doing evil. I possessed too much knowledge. The wrongs I committed became increasingly severe, leading me to view life as insignificant. Thus, I decided to change my approach and began to use my knowledge to alter the world. I did not care about anyone's opinions, as my actions were not meant to make the world a better place or to achieve a sense of accomplishment, but simply to play around and see what would happen. I became a scientist and created many new technologies. Then, in my 8th and 9th lives, I had plenty of time and money to do what I wanted. Because of me, the world underwent many changes. In my 10th life, I unconsciously began to see myself as a god when looking at humanity. I felt neither joy nor sorrow. The emotions and desires had long become illusions, and all living beings were seen as mere dust. I had committed all kinds of evil and had done good as well. I had made the world worse, but could also make it better. I visited the North and South Poles, climbed the world's highest peaks, explored the ocean depths, and even became an astronaut. I traveled to space and went to the moon. With advancements in technology, the farthest place I reached was Mars. Yet, I remained immortal, and despite possessing all medical knowledge and having traveled to many places, my life could not surpass 120 years. Even though I knew I would reincarnate, believing that persistence would eventually lead to technological progress. The cycle of time reset the world and human civilization back to primitive times every 5,000 years. I felt despair in this vast prison. I could not break free from my own shackles. I longed for transcendence and gradually felt that carrying memories into reincarnation was like being trapped in an endless prison with no one to truly talk to or share my grievances with. As I was the only special existence, I had the vision of a god but was confined in a mortal body, living like an ant. After countless years, I discovered that there was not a single kindred spirit by my side. I wanted to feel sorrow, but soon realized that sorrow held no meaning at all. What was the purpose of living? I spent 1,000 lives, over 100,000 years, without understanding. I no longer wished to live. This place was nothing short of hell. Death can be a beginning for me. I scream and pray, who will save me? Save me, save me. But no matter how I plead, there is no response. So, I began to give up, indifferent to everything. Each reincarnation became a real performance. I hid my true self and grew like an ordinary person without memories, making friends, enduring hardships and pain, experiencing joy and parting, continuing to live life over and over again. Yet, deep inside, I always longed for freedom. I wanted to transform into a bird in the sky, flying freely and unrestrained. The wings of freedom? This life is quite nice. It's great to meet you all. At the moment when the light shone in, I saw a short-haired girl in a three-dimensional maneuvering outfit, rushing towards me with dual blades. Mikasa, you're here. The girl's eyes shimmered with tears as she swiftly raised her blades. Safe travels, Aaron. The blades flashed, and my head separated from my neck as I slowly closed my eyes. When my lover lifted my head for a kiss, a voice echoed in my ears. Young one who longs for freedom, have you found your freedom? This was the first time I felt such great love. It seemed to transcend time and space, breaking through the cage, infecting my once silent heart. making me want to see her again. Mikasa. We'll meet again in the next reincarnation. Years later, Mikasa sat in front of a gravestone under a large tree, crying and reminiscing about the past. Then she said, Eren, I really want to see you again. Time flies, stars shift, old friends pass away, and everything moves like light. This large tree witnessed the development of the era and the chaos of war, much like the cycle of history, constantly repeating itself. In the end, the splendid civilization faded away once more, replaced by a dense forest and a towering ancient tree with a deep pond inside. A new cycle of reincarnation began. I slowly opened my eyes and found myself under a large tree. Beside me stood young Mikasa, carrying a bundle of firewood. Eren, did you just fall asleep? It's time to go home. It's so nice to see you again. Eren, what are you saying? Are you feeling unwell? I smiled slightly and brushed it off, as if the past was just a dream. Since the cage of reincarnation cannot be broken, I will continue to cross the distance of life and death to meet you and experience the pursuit of freedom once more. In the blink of an eye, time has come to the present. The Wall of Maria, the final reclamation battle, the operation begins. Chapter 200. Error code equals the main character of the world. Whoosh. Swish. The bright light flashed, and the fleet of light seekers arrived in this universe. A total of 30 capital warships, 10,000 Legion warships, and 1 planetary mobile fortress. If necessary, 5,000 warships could be urgently summoned from ELS. Upon arrival, Chang Wei did not act rashly but ordered the fleet to conduct reconnaissance scans of the surrounding star regions. A portion of the 5th-level civilization warships has entered high-dimensional space, beginning to be on alert and search for potential hidden targets. Everyone knows that this rescue mission is not simple, so they are all on high alert. As for the cats and dogs, they are all inexplicably excited, filled with immense longing and anticipation for the unknown cosmic starry sky and the upcoming rescue mission. Chang Wei does not treat them as a subordinate army. Rather, out of goodwill, he unites them under his command. Otherwise, he would have issued an extermination order from the beginning instead of saving them. However, it should be noted that while pets are not allowed on the fleet, seeing these cats and dogs and occasionally petting them can help relieve some of the tension and loneliness of space travel. Soon, under the observation from a high-dimensional perspective, Chang Wei received a shocking image. In the image, numerous galaxy-like structures, resembling mirrors, are wrapped in huge transparent membranes and are continuously traveling through the universe. They vary in size, with some encasing a single star system and others enveloping entire star clusters. Viewed from the high-dimensional angle, they shine brilliantly, like sparkling pearls, creating a particularly spectacular scene. The scientific team also obtained first-hand observational data and exploration materials, beginning their research and discussions. After a long time, Steidman submitted a summary report, suggesting that this transparent membrane is somewhat similar to an electromagnetic frequency barrier, capable of blocking any signals from outside the galaxy. At the same time, it can also block a large number of cosmic rays and dangerous interstellar dust, like biological skin and cell membranes. It provides a certain level of protection for the galaxies inside, ensuring a stable and safe internal environment. Moreover, after analysis and comparison of the instruments on the scientific exploration ship and the timeline function graphs, it was found that this membrane adds an additional temporal dimension, resulting in a closed time loop. In other words, within this transparent membrane, everything will undergo a period and script before being reset back to the starting point of its timeline. Based on various data analyses, it was concluded that civilizations within the membrane, no matter how they struggle and develop, will never be able to break through to the outside or receive and transmit any signals beyond the membrane. Everything is predetermined, much like program code. For example, human logic, behavior, dialogue, and thoughts all have predetermined fate paths, unless there is external interference. However, the effect of such interference is also extremely limited. It will be recognized as an error code, assumed to exist, and after a time reset, all results produced by the interference will be erased. In short, humans locked within this membrane, if they cannot break the time loop, will forever be trapped and unable to escape. After reading the report, Chang Wei inquired of the system in his mind. System, based on the intelligence we currently possess, it seems that breaking the time loop is not so easy, right? What consequences might we face if we recklessly cross this membrane? The system quickly delivered a cold mechanical response. It has been fully confirmed that the current universe is a large breeding ground created by some existing or unknown force. The transparent membranes enveloping the galaxies serve as large breeding tanks. These tanks not only provide a safe and stable environment for the livestock inside, but also restrict their freedom and defend against external invasions. If the breeding tanks suffer extensive damage, there is a high chance of attracting unforeseen dangers. Therefore, the host needs to be cautious and, as quietly as possible, create an inconspicuous opening in the breeding tank to execute the rescue mission. The specific method can involve using dimensional technology to carve out a hidden wormhole. However, the time dimension within the membrane is two-dimensional, which exerts strong pressure on the one-way time dimension outside the membrane, causing the flow of time near the wormhole to accelerate significantly. This may lead to a quicker collapse and destruction of the wormhole. Thus, the host cannot keep the wormhole open for too long. Once it is closed, the personnel inside risk becoming trapped in a time loop, forever stuck inside, and becoming part of the script. At that point, the host would have to resort to violent means to escape. Chang Wei frowned, but did not interrupt. Instead, he listened patiently. The system continued. Breaking the time loop is indeed not easy. It can only be done through violent means or by the host finding the error codes within the time loop, altering their predetermined fate, thereby triggering the collapse of the entire timeline to break the formed time closed loop. These error codes are usually individual humans, requiring the host to send subordinates to search for them. Chang Wei was taken aback and interjected. Is this error code the main character of the world? The system replied. The host can understand it this way. At this moment, Chang Wei's mind raced as he connected the dots within this universe. Seeing humanity confined within the time loop script, reduced to livestock. Clearly, the existing or unknown force behind this seeks to extract something from humanity. But what could it be? Proteins? Souls? Life? It seemed more likely to be something of a higher nature. Chang Wei had previously asked the system about it, but received the answer. Host lacks permission. This implied that the system surely knows what the existing or unknown force wants to extract from humanity. And this might be a top-tier resource among the myriad worlds. Moreover, this top-tier resource must be obtained under specific requirements, which is what the so-called script or scheme refers to. Wait, the world's main character? Hiss. Chang Wei suddenly realized what it could be. If it is that thing, then everything makes sense. It seems that the rescue mission issued by the system is fundamentally aimed at obtaining that thing. Chang Wei calmed down and chose not to dwell further on it. He looked at the countless transparent membranes displayed on the holographic device at the command center, knowing that at this very moment, numerous individuals were waiting for their saviors to arrive. Just this reason alone was enough. All troops, listen up. The combat mission is as follows. Chapter 201, The Titan Descends. This is a phenomenon of consciousness entanglement, triggered by a real story from another universe, known as brain hole entanglement. This entanglement was captured by a manga artist named Hajime Isayama, who created the series of manga works. Later, the manga was adapted into an anime produced by Wit Studio. The first season premiered from April 7th to September 29th, 2013, consisting of 25 episodes. It received widespread acclaim upon release, quickly becoming a top hit of the year and was hailed as a masterpiece. The second season aired from April 1st to June 17th, 2017, followed by the third season from July 22nd to October 14th, 2018, concluding finally on November 4th, 2023. A legendary work, it came to an end after a decade. The first season primarily tells the story of a world dominated by giants. Humanity, which has become food for the giants, built towering walls 50 meters high to prevent the invasion of giants from outside at the cost of their freedom. The second season focuses on the protagonist Eren, who wields the power of the giants, continuously battling against them and swearing to eradicate all giants from the world. The third season depicts the passage of time, as humanity gradually approaches the truth of the world in the face of the walls being breached by giants. This secret lies in the basement of Eren's home. Thus, the Survey Corps, symbolizing the wings of freedom, embarks on a mission to reclaim Wall Maria, betting their lives under the leadership of Commander Erwin. I really want to know the secret in that basement. Commander Erwin is filled with deep sorrow as the Survey Corps faces their most perilous moment. The giants have surrounded them completely, and the Beast Titan is relentlessly throwing boulders, destroying buildings. The Dirk and Marlene squads have just been annihilated, their bodies reduced to unrecognizable forms by the barrage of stones, while the surrounding houses have turned into vast ruins, making the scene resemble a hell on earth. Once the buildings are all destroyed, their grim fate will soon follow. After hearing Commander Erwin's words, Captain Levi slowly knelt before him, offering his most sincere plea: give up your dream and die. Lead the new recruits into hell. Leave that monkey to me to slay. Only you can do this. This is our only chance for a comeback. Commander Erwin, seeing the countless sacrificed comrades beckoning to him, wondered if their sacrifices were truly meaningless. No, that is not right. Only we can give them meaning. Those brave sacrifices, those tragic sacrifices, only we, the living, can remember. We will die here, entrusting meaning to those who live on. This is the only way to fight against this cruel world. Commander Erwin stood up again, his gaze unwavering. He looked towards the direction of the trembling new recruits, as if the whole world was narrating for him. Those who claim you are free should take a good look at us now, all filled with confusion. Humanity has accumulated contradictions for 2,000 years, with all desires, hatred, schemes, and killings, as if arranged for us in this twilight. With technological blockades, memories confined, and walls closing in, the truth of world civilization is buried layer by layer, and we can only investigate with great difficulty. Yearning to verify a hypothesis, stepping out of a classroom, chasing a dirigible, heading outside the paradise, gazing at the endless sea. Some of you have been starting your own stories since childhood. Some have become slaves to certain things in their youth, suffering over the meaning of their existence and the loss of their companions. The walls between people are hard to break. Based on different experiences, you will face choices that you might regret repeatedly. You will tread the path we once failed, a road of aspirations and corpses. What you sing may be a requiem of dawn, but you might be powerless to save this era, and the era may be even more powerless to save you. I look at you with deep regret, apologizing for offering you our hearts. You may turn what you have into what you miss, what is whole into what is broken, what is pure into what is dirty, and what is confident into self-blame. You may be led to hell, becoming a mountain piled high with thousands of sacrifices, apologizing for your courage. Only the ignorant and foolish are keen on the special and great. Those burdened with a mission yearn for liberation and love. Apologizing for your freedom. Despair still exists outside the walls, and the distance feels like an ocean. Every moment, I am clear that it's not just us who are entrusting you with meaning. You might also abandon dreams to perish, granting meaning to the next survivor. There is no need to live as the imagined descendants of Emer, where gods and slaves are one. Such imagination is insufficient to envision a future as a person if you still need our deception. So rage on, soldiers. Roar, soldiers. Fight, soldiers. We are born into the same cruel world. This is the only way to resist this harsh world. Charge! Captain Irwin led the new recruits, braving the countless stones thrown at them, launching a desperate death charge towards the giant beast. Fear and grim faces appeared on everyone's visage. It was the last chant before death. It was a journey to hell. It was the great lie of entrusting hope and meaning to the living. Charge! The flying stones were slowly magnifying in their pupils, and the desperate howls seemed to echo throughout the heavens and the earth. Are we going to die? Is my life about to end? Right now? Titanfall, prepare for Titanfall. Bang, 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 bang. Like falling meteors, 5 advanced titans crashed to the ground, stirring up massive clouds of dust as they landed right in front of Commander Irwin's charge path. Chapter 202, Attack on Titan, Agreement 2. The advanced titans are 4th-generation mech units developed and utilized by the resistance forces. Their bodies are compatible with all types of Titan weapons and cores, and they possess advanced artificial intelligence. After being mass-produced by the fleet, they not only upgraded their armor and shield strength, but also offered more options and combinations for weaponry. Typically, a tactical squad consists of 5 advanced titans, specifically tasked with special operations for planetary ground landings, requiring high flexibility and mobility. In this unique universe, there are countless worlds that need saving. Thus, the fleet must adopt the most efficient manpower distribution strategy to achieve optimal results. In the face of the technologically backward Titan world, after gathering general intelligence, the fleet deployed a Titan mech squad to execute special operations within the planet. Meanwhile, a cruiser remained in orbit, ready for support and reinforcement at any moment. This way, they could complete their mission while effectively avoiding detection by unknown entities or forces. Just as Commander Irwin was about to lead the new recruits into a death charge, a massive steel beast appeared in low orbit above them, locking the position. Area, Parody Island, south of Walmaria, in the Shiganshina district. According to intelligence verification, this world's storyline should be entering the 3rd season, episode 10 of the anime. Commence special operations. Good luck, Major Joel. Joel, with a serious expression, donned his iron helmet and responded. Titanfall, prepare for. The Titans descended. 5 advanced Titans, equipped with different armaments and cores, were projected downwards. With a long trail and fine adjustments of their braking systems, they finally landed solidly in front of Commander Irwin and the Survey Corps at a critical moment. Boom. The sudden loud noises and the immense clouds of dust startled the charging horses, causing them to rear and stop in their tracks. The soldiers on horseback from the Survey Corps widened their eyes, their minds blank as they stared in disbelief at the scene before them. 5 strange-looking steel giants stood in their way, emitting the sounds of mechanical hydraulics. They crouched on one knee while extending one arm forward, activating a dazzling turbine shield that repelled the incoming barrage of debris in a stunning display. What is this? The events unfolded too rapidly, leaving no time for anyone to think. In the next moment after the throwing attack ceased, the 5 steel giants withdrew large weapons from their backs, aiming at the towering titans standing like walls in the distance. At this moment, a cold command from Major Joel came through the communication channel of the Iron Steed helmet. All units, open fire freely. Eliminate all threats. The advanced artificial intelligence BT also assisted in locking onto targets. In the next second, the split rifle, Ion, T-203 thermite launcher, Flame, plasma railgun, Polaris, 40mm semi-automatic cannon, Powerful, and Reaper cannon, Legion, all let out a deafening roar. Boom, 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 boom. The giants on the opposite side were immediately struck by intense firepower, their bodies torn apart, and blood flying everywhere. What is this? Oh no. The Beast Titan, Zeke Yeager, looked terrified, instinctively trying to shield his face and vital areas with his hands. But how could an ordinary flesh and blood body withstand high-tech weapons? You giants don't possess the strong chitinous shells like the insectoids. So the outcome was already determined. With the SMR Viper missile soaring through, a single shot shattered the upper half of the Beast Titan. Its neck flesh burned with flames and was blasted away. Zeke Yeager was left unaware of his fate. The continuous barrage of firepower and the long trails emitted from the missile pods left everyone behind them in shock. They stood there, staring at everything unfolding, as if they had discovered something 100 times more terrifying than the giants. A rigid tremor spread through everyone, making them forget to escape, forgetting that they were soldiers. Among this group, only Captain Irwin stood with shining eyes, intently watching the towering figures of the Iron Giants, afraid of missing even a second. A strong desire for knowledge and curiosity drove him to understand the truth of this world. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become the captain of the Survey Corps, working hard to get to this point. The attack from the Titan mech squad lasted only 39 seconds before it came to a halt. Then, the advanced artificial intelligence BT began blinking its mechanical electronic eyes, assessing the results of the battle. Iron Steed, the firepower strike, was flawless, with 98 of the enemies annihilated and a 2 chance that some might still be alive. Protocol 2. Maintain the mission. We must complete the task assigned to us by the fleet's highest commander. Joel nodded and then ordered through the communication channel. AL's Orange Fat, Coulson the Eared. Go to the battlefield and see if there are any survivors among the enemies. If there are, bring them here. Yes, boss. Joel holstered his weapon, not surprised by the outcome. After all, the world they were assigned to, Attack on Titan, had a low level of technology, and they had anime as a source of intelligence. Thus, the difficulty was relatively low. With limited time, they needed to complete the mission quickly. Beep, thud, thud, thud. Joel piloted the Titan mech, making mechanical thumping sounds as he turned to look at Captain Irwin on horseback. We are the Light Chaser Fleet, the Fury 1st Legion. Titan Mobile Special Forces. I am the commander of this squad, Major Joel. Please confirm your identity. Are you the 13th commander of the Survey Corps, Irwin Smith? Even while seated on horseback, Commander Irwin felt the immense pressure of the giant's gaze. He suppressed his excitement and asked the one-eyed giant before him, "What are you? Are you a Titan of the abnormal kind? Or are you a type of intelligent Titan? Why are you so much stronger than those Titans? Are you wearing steel armor? What kind of weapons are you using? Why are you attacking each other? Are you in conflict with one another? What is the truth of this world?" At that moment, Commander Irwin resembled a student desperate for knowledge, unafraid of the pressure from the advanced Titan, boldly voicing his questions. The advanced Titan BT replied, "Conclusion denied. We are the 5th generation advanced Titans. We are not Titans. Not Titans. Advanced Titans?" The information revealed by BT raised even more questions for Commander Irwin. Joel looked around, noticing no immediate danger, and opened the cockpit door of the Titan, jumping out. He then approached Commander Irwin and slowly removed his helmet, revealing the head of a tabby cat. Chapter 203. The core of the Titan jumping out from the belly of a steel giant? Shouldn't it be from the back of the neck? And it's a cat? Joel felt the strange looks from the crowd, and his tone turned sharp. Your gazes are quite rude, as if you were looking at some uncivilized animal. Commander Irwin quickly reacted and explained, "Apologies, but aside from Titans and humans, we have truly never seen other intelligent species, so it's natural for us to be shocked when we see your true form. If there is any offense caused, please forgive us." In truth, Commander Irwin was very curious about Joel and almost wanted to rush over and confirm his authenticity by touching his head. But reason told him that he absolutely must not act recklessly. Thus, Commander Irwin shifted his gaze and continued, "Yes, I am the current commander of the Survey Corps. Irwin Smith. Thank you very much for your assistance. What is your purpose in seeking me? Also, do you come from the world beyond the walls? What is that world like?" At that moment, Captain Levi also descended steadily beside Commander Irwin, using his maneuvering gear, ready to draw his blade at a moment's notice. He had witnessed the earlier battle. Originally, he was supposed to use the cover of the new recruit charge to approach the Beast Titan and strike unexpectedly. Instead, these creatures had effortlessly eliminated all the Titans. It was terrifying. In a situation where he didn't know if they were friend or foe, Levi was not going to trust these strangers, especially since they were not human. Be cautious. This individual before you, a child standing at only 1.6 meters tall with lifeless eyes, harbors considerable hostility towards you. It is advisable to maintain a safe distance and be prepared for any potential dangers. BT, are you polite? Joel glanced at Captain Levi, but did not take him seriously, as the reflexes of the cat-like beings were 34 times faster than those of humans. Additionally, the exclusive weapon of the Iron Rider and the brick hanging at his waist were not just for show. As the saying goes, with a brick in hand, I hold the world. His reputation as the brick god of war was not unfounded. Ignoring everyone else, Joel turned his attention back to Commander Irwin and said seriously, Irwin Smith, we have our own mission, and it's not convenient to disclose too much right now. However, we mean no harm. On the contrary, we aim to help you break free from this massive cage. Cage, does this relate to the truth of the world? Irwin pondered the meaning of those words. It's okay if you don't understand,